Good evening. It is Thursday, December 15th. This is the Town of Needham Conservation Commission. And I am Janet Bernardo, the Conservation Commission Chair. I'm just going to first make sure that the members can hear me and I can hear them. So when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Sue.
Here.
Peter.
Here.
Paulina.
Here.
And at the moment, we are missing a few, but hopefully they will come on and we will note them when they arrive. And staff, Debbie.
Here.
Clay.
Here.
Great. This is an open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Is it still actually because it's a state of emergency, or did that emergency part go away and we're just still doing this?
I believe the provisions we're acting under are still an extension of the provisions during the emergency.
For the
So
emergency. Okay, so we're still, that sentence is still correct. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body and are available on the Conservation Commission website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now going to turn to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each hearing on the agenda. I will introduce the applicant and or their consultant to begin their project presentation. After they conclude the presentation, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and please state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay, so nobody else has arrived. I'm going to jump around a little bit on the agenda because I believe some of these items are like automatically going to be continued, so it's nice to kind of just check them off. So we'll start with 167 New Hoyden Street, DP file number 234894. This is a continued abbreviated notice of intent. I believe we were just waiting for a DP file number. Is there anybody to discuss this, or are we just opening and closing?
there's nobody here to discuss it since there was nothing further needed except the file number. However, I'm thinking we still need one of the previous members, commission members, to meet the quorum. So with 4 members here right now, we technically have a quorum to run the meeting, but the continued hearings until Allison's able to update her computer and get in, I believe we don't have an active quorum on the continued hearings.
Oh, so, well, does that mean we just can't vote on it, but we could open it and close it? Can't we? Or no?
I imagine you can close the hearing, but you can't vote on issuing
The order of conditions.
anything that would require deliberation is my understanding.
Okay, but I think we can just, we've opened it and now we're just going to close it because we were just waiting for a DP file number. We can talk about the order of conditions at the end of the hearing. Okay, so I am looking, this is the project that they were removing a swimming pool and they were just removing the swimming pool, and that was the end of that. So I'm looking for a motion to close the hearing for 167 New Hoyden Street, DP file number 234894.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I second if I can. I guess I wasn't part of the quorum that was at the.
Yeah, you can second it for the moment though, so then that's okay.
And Sue, you also did have the Mullen form for this one.
Yes. Oh, I did. Okay, so I can vote on it?
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so all in favor for closing the hearing? Peter,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Paulina,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Okay, so we will come back to issuing the order that is closed. Now, the Rosemary Lake Dock, 0 Rosemary Street, does not have a DP file number. So my understanding is they wish to continue till the January 5th. Is that true?
That's
Yes.
correct.
So we are looking, oh, Stacy, you're here for that project.
I'm here for that one and McLeod.
And the what?
The
McLeod baseball field renovation.
So that's
the
later.
updates from the town.
We won't get there. That's later. Sorry. I'm just trying. That one will take a little longer. Okay, so, oh, good. Allison's arriving. Can you hear us, Allison? No, she can't hear us, but that's all right. She's working on it. So I am looking for a motion to continue Rosemary Lake Dock to January 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Thank you, Peter. Can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Paulina,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Allison, can you hear yet? No. Janet, aye. Okay, so that is continued. And now we will move forward. Do we have enough people here to move forward on 160 Edgewater Drive?
Once we get Allison's system up and working.
Okay, because she was not here for the last one, but she read the Mullen form.
That's a good point. Can't be muted.
Yeah, thanks. She can still be in on the discussion though, right?
Yes. So, okay, yeah, and so she could she could listen to the Mullen before we deliberate on an order of conditions.
Right.
Okay. So,
Oh, there she is.
well, she's there, but she can't hear us yet.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay, so is the Highland Ave Bridge just requesting a continuation of order of conditions, and is that not a big deal?
Right. Yeah. They're looking
Okay.
for a 3-year extension.
3-year extension?
Yep. Just taking
So-
longer than proposed.
So under other business, the Highland Ave Bridge DP file number 234817 is requesting an extension of the order of conditions. Is there any need to discuss this in any way, or can I have a motion to allow them? This is the town of Needham that's asking for this request?
No, this is the,
Mass DOT?
yeah. So they're requesting it in Newton and Needham.
Okay. Gosh, that was 3 years ago? I feel like it was,
Well,
I know.
they're being preemptive. I think they still have 6 months or so on it, but
okay. So I'm looking for a motion to, or unless, does anyone want to discuss this? Okay, so we'll take a motion to issue an extension of their order conditions till 3 years, and 3 years will bring us to when?
Good question. I don't have that up. Hold on one sec.
Let's see, if it's 2023, it will be 2026. Maybe it's like May of 2026 or something.
Sorry, hold on a sec. Sue, it will be, so it's due to expire on February 18th. So they're looking for February 18th, 2026.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to continue Highland Ave Bridge, DEP file number 234817 till the extension for the order of conditions to February 18th, 2026.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Paulina,
Aye.
Allison, can you hear us yet? No. Peter,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Okay, so that one is done. I think all the other ones are kind of gonna take a while, so we need Allison. You don't have any meeting minutes or enforcement orders to talk about? Clay or Deb? Minutes
Aye.
or enforcement orders?
That is correct. We do not.
Mhm.
Oh. How you doing, Allison? Can you hear us yet?
Janet, you know I can talk, so if you want me to get started, just let me know.
Hmm. I just
So-
emailed her to see if she can hear us, but
Well, I think she would nod or something if she could hear us. Can she call?
Wait,
You can hear us? Thumbs up, you can hear us? But we cannot hear you. We cannot hear you, though. Can you call us? Clay, she need help us. Can't you just call in, Clay, on another phone number? She can hear us. So if you can tell her what to do, she'll call.
Yeah, that is an option with a cell phone to call in for audio.
You have a cell phone?
isn't the phone number on the invite?
Yeah, it probably is.
Okay, so she's working on it? No, you're not working on it.
This-
Okay, Ed, you start your.
Paulina, do not take this as a good example of how our meetings are usually run, please.
Wait,
That's
gonna
okay,
run
they
away.
They started off pretty fast.
Yeah.
I feel like we got ahead.
Yeah.
all
true.
right, Ed, we'll let you start talking for a while because we need Allison for our deliberations.
I was joking, Janet, but I can start because I do think that myself, Tom Ryder, and Justin are here with Stacy. Clay had just sent Brad an invite. Brad's the vice president from Time Bond. But yeah, we can get started with our discussion if you'd like, and at any point we can pivot back to the meeting once Allison has some audio.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't want to get started. I guess I will get started, but I'll introduce the team. I'm here with Stacy from Park and Rec, Tom Ryder, our town engineer, and Justin, our assistant town engineer. We're here to talk about several different DPW projects, and we do appreciate the commission's time tonight. And we appreciate this discussion informally to kind of just be in touch with you guys to let you know what we have upcoming, because as always, we have a lot of jobs that, in our capital plan. And I think in particular, I'm here to discuss the McLeod Field project. So
Okay,
I've been
tell
with-
us where the McLeod Field is.
Sure, absolutely. So McLeod Field is located at DeFazio. It is currently a 90-foot baseball field that was built with the other fields there on the Field of Dreams approximately 13, 14 years ago. So I've been with the town 12 years just for the commission's sake. And I've been very lucky and fortunate to work with the town and have such an aggressive program to fix things. So in my short time, we've had about 10 multi-million-dollar projects. I was just writing down a list of some of the field projects that we had, starting with Walker Gordon on Charles River Road. We bought a property, raised the property, built a 90-foot baseball field, added some conservation areas, some seating areas. Since then, we've rebuilt Greensfield, Millsfield, Newman, Eastman, Pollard, Cricket, the Reservoir, High Rock Field, 2 fields at DeFazio, Conroy, and Healy. We regraded and returfed those as soccer pitches. So we've done a lot. And I think out of all the projects, I used to tell everybody the town common was going to be my gem of all project. And if you go by today, it's unbelievable what we've gotten accomplished over the last month. And I can't wait to open that in the spring. And I used to tell people town meeting and other groups that I consider that our front yard of our community. I'm so pleased to see that design and come to fruition. But I think honestly, McLeod Field is going to be one of the most satisfying jobs of them all, if approved and permitted and all the things that we have ahead of us. But it is in the town manager's capital plan for this year. So we're looking forward to discussions with the finance committee and others, but we have some permits to get through conservation as well as ZBA for the improvements that we like to do there. And I'll be honest with you, with all the projects I've been fortunate to be a part of, I've never seen the grounds, the wellspring of support for a project like this. Athletics, softball, the people have come out to say they want this project, and they've come out in droves, and meeting after meeting. Katie, we've all heard the support. And it's been interesting to watch, because I haven't seen that in any other project. Even the town common, there was support, but more negativity than support, to be honest with you, for the record. hopefully the negativity will turn to positivity once everybody sees the finished project because from Powers Hall, if you look down on the new comment, it is just absolutely amazing. So McLeod Field, as mentioned, it's a 90-foot baseball field. It is on the parking lot edge of DPW's yard in the parking lot for the field. So it is the field by the golf course and by the wetland side of DeFazio. It currently is a 90-foot baseball field. It is where our JV team plays. So why now? This field, as many of you know, has had some sinkholes over the years. I remember my first day on the job, I was handed a bunch of keys, tapped on the back, said, "Good, go get them, kid." And by the way, we have a massive sinkhole in this field that we just spent millions on building, and it's all dead, and we need it ready in 2 weeks. Can you do that, Ed? And I said, "Oh my goodness, what am I walking into here?" So long story short, we fixed that sinkhole several times. There's a 4-foot drainage line that takes some street drainage off of the neighborhoods above the train tracks and outlets that into the wetlands. Hence the reason why we're kind of here for conservation. So that pipe was put in again 13 years ago. What happened was it looks like it was basically pressed down with some of the heavy equipment. So it was a PVC pipe. It has joints and it looks like it has voids in it all over. So when we get in heavy rainwater, surcharge rain, stormwater events, what happens is the field actually gets sunk. It sinks right into that pipe and it outlets into the wetlands. We have massive voids in the field, and then we have to go out and repair everything quickly. So not only are we going to fix that pipe, but we're actually going to change that field. So it's currently a baseball field. To discuss that. Right now, we are proposing, we have the support of athletics, the town manager, the school department, park and rec, and everybody to convert that field into a softball field, make it our premier softball field. Why? Why? Because we don't have enough softball fields. Why? Because the girls play at Claxton, JV and varsity play at the former landfill, unirrigated. Even though I think we maintain beautiful conditions, it's not really worthy of the level of play of these girls deserve. And they've been on the back burner for many years. And I think now we all recognize, and we'd like to fix everything immediately, but it takes time. It takes dozens of years to go through town. But now is the time to focus on the girls and get the girls back to DeFazio. The Field of Dreams was to have all the varsity teams there, the trainers there, the athletes there, the coaches there, the fans there. And right now they're not there. So we have the support. We have enough 90-foot baseball fields, not enough in town, but we have 4, so we can deal with 3, freshman, varsity, and JV. We only have 2 softball fields for the girls right now. Both are inadequate for what they need and they deserve. So again, we have the support of everybody to basically convert a 90-foot baseball field into a premier softball field. How does that relate to wetlands? So again, this field is going to have, and I have the plans. I don't know if Clay would like to bring them up, but I could share a screen and bring them up. But essentially, now that we're converting to or proposing to convert to a softball field, it's a much smaller field footprint. So we can pull off the wetland edge, get that field a little bit more in because it's a smaller field. So we have some liberties to actually improve our boundaries with the wetland, as well as offer the amenities that the girls deserve and need right now. So it'll have covered dugouts, it'll have warm-up areas, it'll have a fence, it'll have scoreboards, it'll have lights. That's why we're going to go to ZBA. We're proposing field lights so that the girls can have a night game like many other communities have for their varsity teams. So I said it earlier, but I think the groundswell of support is amazing to watch. At first, I was a little taken aback, but now I get it. I live in town, my daughter, my son, I'm growing up my family here, and like I said, the girls have waited a long time to get their place at the table, and the time is now. So I really appreciate the time of the commission tonight. I'd love to show the plans and just quickly go through them, because the purpose of tonight's visit was both talk about this project and get some feedback from the commission before we do the NOI, as well as present other projects that we have in our queue. And that's where I'm going to tap in Tom Ryder to talk about several other projects that we'd like to make you aware of before we get into the permitting stage. So with that said, I've taken up some time. Hopefully Allison's doing better. And Clay, if you could, or if you don't mind me bringing up plans, however you want to do that, I think you have them. I'd love to speak through a couple of sheets and just share with you what we have designed. And like I said, I'm very proud of the work that we have done with Ty and Bond and our town staff. Thank you.
Great, that's great. If you could pull up those plans, that'd be great. I want to make known for the record that Dave has joined us. Dave, can you hear me? You're on mute.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry.
Perfect. All right. Well, we're glad to have you because Allison's struggling with her internet. So
Yeah, I'm
we're
sorry.
holding off.
Sorry I'm late, but.
No,
I'm here.
good to see you. All right. Well, we're still talking about McLeod Field. So do
And
we have a plan to pull
if
up?
you're able to pull those up, that'd be great, just in case I need any help troubleshooting. I can't share screen and troubleshoot Zoom.
Yep. Oops, that's the cost estimate. Can you see that?
Yep.
Don't want that. Well, you can see that as well, so. All right, so if you all are on the same page, literally with me, we're
Wait,
looking at the,
no, I don't think so. We're seeing a email from Ty and Bond.
oh, so you're not seeing the attachment that I have clicked open right now?
No, it didn't. I see you trying to click it, but not, we don't see it open.
You have two screens?
Yeah,
Yeah, do you have two screens? We might be not looking at the correct screen.
Yeah, move it to your other screen.
you
Just
might have
drag
to
it
come
over.
over and show me, Tom, so.
All right, just grab
Hold on the top of it and drag it over,
yeah. Grab the PDF with the mouse and pull it to the other screen.
right at the top.
Well, let me just click off of this one.
Might have to unshare the screen and then share it again and then select what it is you want to share.
All right, let me try this again.
I think Justin's heading over there.
Good.
All right, so I had Clay is talking to Allison. I
Great.
just talked to her, so she's trying to call in and different things, so.
Okay, so we're still looking at your email.
Drag over because I got two screens going.
We should probably just end the night here, honestly. Try again.
It's going so well.
Jeez.
Can you guys see it now?
Nope. You still see the email.
That's weird.
See, I've never seen that before. We're actually in it right now.
Was that in that email? I can try to pull them up on mine.
Yeah, it's in the email I sent you, Clay, and everybody.
Sometimes when you share, you select what you want to share, but you don't select like the screen itself. So if you select the screen itself, we will see whatever you're doing on the screen, not just the application that you're using.
Okay, let me try this again then. With that being said, all right.
If you select share again, it'll show you different screens you want to see or different documents, and you can select the one that you want to
All
share.
right, here we go. With that said, how does this work? All right.
Yes,
Thank you for that advice. That was perfect. That's all. I
good
need.
direction. You've earned your keep already, Pauline.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right, so just looking at the title page again, locust map, we're talking about right here at TPW, DeFazio Fields, as mentioned. So the screen I'm sharing now shows at the top the artificial turf fields that we have at DeFazio. Top left is going to be the running track Conroy Field, and then bottom right is McLeod Field. As mentioned, it's our JV baseball field. It's a natural grass field. Again, what you're seeing there is existing conditions. It's a 90-foot field. There's existing tile drainage in the infield. And as you can see in the bottom right, you can see the wetland boundaries.
So I'm embarrassed that I'm not sure exactly which field this one is. Do you have an overview of the whole DeFazio?
That field behind Pollard.
It's the one directly behind Pollard?
Yeah, it's the
Betty,
one behind.
I
on the-
have one on my screen, on my computer, if you need it, let me know.
Well, closest that, I mean, that's okay. As long as, I just want to make sure everybody understands.
It's
So I
actually
know
the
where
one-
Track is,
Closest to the parking lot, actually.
okay, closest to the parking lot, thank you. And then-
Yes, in fact, the screenshot I have now shows the edge of parking lot on the left-hand side.
Okay,
All the
okay.
columns. You could see on the top left where my asterisk is now, that's the handicap accessible parking in the entrance into DeFazio itself. To the right of the turf fields, if you're following my cursor now. These are the turf fields right here. And to the right of the turf fields, again, are the hillside and the golf course. So this is basically the field closest to the reservoir, to the trail here at the phase at PSAB. So.
Okay. Thanks.
So you're welcome, of course. So you can see here the rudimentary design. Again, as I mentioned, we're able to pull the field off the existing fence line, and we're able to bring it out, I think, almost 100 feet from where it is now. Because why? Softball is a much smaller field footprint, and we have that liberty. With this being a premier field, the girls wanted a completely fenced in field. You can see that all here. It's going to be a skin surface, which is typical of all softball fields. It's going to be a natural grass, bluegrass outfield. There are warm-up areas for the pitchers on either side here. These are going to be just turfed areas that the pitchers can warm up during the game. These are dugouts here. We have our handicap accessible touches from the parking lot, which we don't have today. So again, we're checking off many boxes here. So the handicap accessibility to the bleachers, both sides, visiting and home team. Again, the accoutrements the girls deserve on each side, warm-up areas, dugouts that we'll see in a further slide, fenced in, warning track, again, lights, field lights on either side of the outfield.
Are you adding impervious cover over the whole area?
Everything will be, other than the padded warm-up areas here and here, in the padded area here, everything else is natural grass. And again, these fields that were built 13 years ago through the Field of Dreams are 100% sand. They're freestanding soils. They completely perk at a rate that is beyond belief. They're like sieves for drainage. So with drainage in mind, I'm going to go to the next sheet, which will show the 4-foot drainage line that we discussed that goes across and through the field. Here's the area that we've had the history of multiple sinkholes, like dozens now. And then it hits an elbow and it makes it a straight line into the wetlands and discharges into a head wall right here. You can see the wetland edge. Again, we're talking about removing and replacing this PVC pipe, corrugated pipe, which has been compromised, with a reinforced concrete pipe, which will never be compromised.
So when you said it's a PVC pipe, is it the HDPE black corrugated or is it a white PVC pipe?
It's black
yeah.
corrugated pipe. It's not HDPE. I wish it was, because it wouldn't have these kinks in the armor, but it's a PVC corrugated black pipe.
Okay.
And again, that
And
pipe
how big is it?
4 feet. It's a 48-inch pipe.
It's a 48-inch PVC
So
pipe.
it's a big drainage pipe, and we'd be replacing it with exactly the same size, but we'd go to a reinforced concrete pipe. So again, we want a pipe that's never going to have voids, that's always going to hold tight. And we need to bed that pipe in stone and wrap it and make sure we grade it right, because again, this is our chance to get it right. This is our second
And
time.
now you're choosing concrete instead of HDPE or corrugated metal because that's the best. Why?
It's the best at everything. I mean, it's durable. It's never gonna be compromised. You're not gonna get better than reinforced concrete.
Okay.
Even though we've made great headway with HDPE, it's just, if you can do reinforced concrete, I think that's the best track here.
And what's the outlet gonna look like? The same?
Yep, the same. So the head wall is right here. We're not gonna touch that, so we're gonna tie in right here. So again, we're gonna take all this existing pipe, remove, replacing kind, same size, and then tie into the pipe so that we don't have to go into the wetlands for anything. If you've ever been to where the head wall is, it's in a thicket of brambles that you'll have 4,000 ticks on you within 2 seconds of going near that head wall. So not only do we not want to disturb the wetland, but we just don't want to get in there. It's too big of a job, and we do feel confident that we can connect here. And we feel confident that this stretch that we've cambered is intact, that we can make that connection without having to disturb the active wetland.
Okay.
You know, I mentioned, I think on this slide, electrical. So we have electrical components, and we're bringing in power outlets for the dugouts so that we can run pitching machines or any accoutrements that the team wants to have out there. So there is some electrical tie-ins that we have proposed.
And now, do you have to irrigate? This is gonna be irrigated because all natural grass?
Yep, so the whole field is irrigated presently. I'm sorry, it doesn't show that on the as-built right there, but yes, we have a whole new irrigation design, which we have to essentially remove and replace everything that's out there, because now the spacing's all changed, but we will be fully irrigating this field, yes. We are gonna add a scoreboard. So right now there are scoreboards for the 2 turf fields. We felt it appropriate to put on the other side of the existing scoreboard facing this field, a scoreboard for the girls. One of the things I mentioned was handicap accessibility. We don't have the handicap accessibility that we need right now, so we're gonna make that tie-in for spectators and athletes. And 2, as pedestrians and spectators come for the turf games, one of the criticisms we've had for years was, how do you watch the kids play? The bleachers are way over here, and you'll see people walking across the game field because they don't know any better. So we're actually designing and proposing a walkway, handicap accessible walkway, which will lead spectators safely to the turf field stands over here. So again, making some accessibility tie-ins and connections that we didn't have with the field.
What's the path made out of?
We have it asphalt right now.
And are you, what about the fertilizer and all of that for your fields? What's that?
Yep, so you know my motto, Janet, don't worry, don't panic, it's organic. So everything we do is organic. I'm a big proponent of Earthworks products. So almost everything we do is through the Earthworks line, 1605, 545, 333 with microhyzal. So everything we do is for soil health, and we test soils. And again, we're talking about a sand field here, so it doesn't have a real good organic matter. So what we do for a reason, but it's mimicked on all the other fields that we've maintained, the 32 active acres that we maintain for all our high school athletic fields, which has a full component of organic fertility, soil testing, as well as cultural practices, which are the most important things to keep in a field: aeration, deep tine aeration, core aeration, overseeding, right seed blends, right mixes. This field will be a bluegrass field. It will be a Kentucky bluegrass sward. It'll be a 4-way bluegrass mix, and like our other softball, baseball pitches in town. So we manage each field individually. We have a massive fertility program for every single field that we manage, that we created about 12 years ago.
And even though it's organic, which I do appreciate, you still have to be careful about your quantities of fertilizer you're using, because we don't want it to, even organic fertilizer running off into the wetland system is not a good thing. So you're careful about not over using your organic material.
Yep. So what we use is poultry compost manure, and you know what? It's not urea. It's raw compost. It doesn't leach. It doesn't turn into, it basically slowly sloughs off. And even in a heavy rainstorm, compost is compost. It stays right there. So absolutely, we're mindful of that. We're mindful of everything we do, and hopefully, hopefully people are aware of that we have these in-depth programs that we put in place a dozen years ago for those reasons exactly.
Great. Anything more on this?
No, I think again, I think when, one of the, I don't know if Bradley's with us because I wasn't paying attention to the screen, but I think as we look towards the NOI, the town is going to look forward to filing in the new year, and we look forward to coming back to you and presenting this project formally ahead of going to ZBA. And I think, when I looked at some of the documents, the filing, and I talked to Cleb and Deb, we wanted to see if we could get some reprieve on a couple of things, the wildlife habitat assessment, the soil test for infiltration measures are proposed. Again, I think everything here is freestanding soils, even the drainage calcs. We're not trying to change anything. We're fixing a pipe and we're bettering a field. And we didn't want to get too far into the weeds with things that we don't really have right now. And we really wanted to hear from the commission if some of those things would be allowed, or if you'd be looking for some of those things, given the nature of this project.
So I'm curious if other commission members have a feeling about that. If there are other soil tests done from previously, then I feel like soil doesn't change significantly, the native base soil. So I'm happy to look at the old soil testing. And I want to understand what the stormwater system is doing. I'm assuming that there will be a stormwater report that goes along with this because you have a lot of different structures now. So is that a yes? Or will it be?
No, that's a no, because, we had a very small amount of money that we got from CPC last year to hire the design firm Time Bond, and they've already exceeded expectations, and they didn't have a stormwater report because we're not doing anything with stormwater. We're actually just fixing the storm drain that's broken right now. So
Okay, so
don't
if
have
all
that
of those pipes, everything, so I'm curious if I want to be able to understand if the impervious area has increased significantly. It doesn't look like it's significant, but it's still, you have an asphalt walkway, but if you're taking things away, you have pads and you have dugouts, and so understanding what that is, because any homeowner that came to us that's within our jurisdiction, if they're adding impervious area, they need to deal with it in some way. So I just want to understand exactly what you're adding. Dave, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm looking at the map and it looks like there's just a very small portion of this project that's actually in the buffer.
Yes, that's correct, Dave.
And
Yeah, so I think now, as far as the wildlife habitat, does anybody have an opinion on that? I feel like if you're not actually touching the wetlands and that is not changing in any way, then that may be an acceptable thing to not require. And does any commission members have an opinion? Peter, you good? Dave, how do you feel about the wildlife habitat?
Yeah, like I said, from an impact point of view, I don't see this as having much impact. And it doesn't look like they're fundamentally changing anything either.
Right, I agree. I do want to make sure that, things like fertilizer is discussed in an open meeting so that any residents that have concerns are hearing it. I don't want to just know it. So that's why, we're going to be asking some of those questions. But so as far as being allowed to not provide the wildlife habitat report, I think Paulina, you have an opinion?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're not changing anything. It looks like they're staying kind of already in the disturbed area. And I don't think they're triggering anything because they're not working in the wetland or in a bank.
Yeah. Sue, you have any concerns about the wildlife habitat?
No, I don't, but I just had a quick question. With the pipe. The pipe is draining water where? I don't quite understand. Say the new pipe. It would be draining water where?
So the existing, sorry, Tom Ryder. The existing pipe is draining water from the Harris Road area underneath the railroad tracks. It cuts across between the two, between the turf field and the track. And it's in line with the same exact location as shown as proposed with the manhole structures.
To answer your question, Sue, it's emptying into the wetland.
And then eventually go in the reservoir.
Okay.
So,
As in the past.
correct.
Yes, that's correct. If you were to walk out there this time of year, you actually can see the head wall discharging into the active wetland. In season, it gets buried in vegetation, but today you could walk out there, or this week, you could see exactly where that pipe discharges into the active wetland.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What other items were you wanting to kind of discuss with us informally, but sticking to this, McLeod, I think we need to move on to some of our other projects. Now, Allison, can you hear us yet?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I'm doing my phone with the audio, and my microphone is broken on my computer. I don't know. So I'm looking at the plan, and I'm aware of this field, and I agree with agree with you about the fertilizer and having some history. Also, I don't think it's, it's not a big change, and it's pretty far away, and I'm inclined to, it would be nice to see some fertilizer information. But
Yeah.
I'm inclined to be fine with this, so.
Okay, so you were asking, Ed, if we would give you relief on some other items, maybe?
Well, I think we mentioned the drainage calcs. We weren't change. To your point, Janet, we'll produce a sheet that shows all the balances of the site and the impervious area. So we have that. And again, I don't know if Brad's with us, but we have that information. We'll share that.
That would be
agree,
good.
and I appreciate the relief on the wildlife habitat. We're just making improvements. We're not changing, and we're not trying to touch any wildlife there. Soil tests, we do have a history of soil testing information where we can show that, again, the physical characteristics of these soils at all DeFazio are freestanding soils. They perk, they infiltrate, they accept stormwater. So again, even with a impervious surface like the walkway, the handicap accessible walkway, rainwater is going to go right to the grass and it's going to go right into the soil because these are freestanding soils. So we're not making big changes. If anything, we're bettering the soils out there through flocculating and turning things over through this construction process. So I think the drainage calcs we can provide, the wildlife habitat, I appreciate the relief. In soil tests, we can provide the history to show what we have there, that we're not making any changes. We're going to keep the soils as is. And I think that's, again, I'm sometimes I apologize for being long-winded, but I guess tonight I don't apologize, and I'm glad that Allison's back online and we can keep going. So I'm good unless Tom or Justin or Stacy would like to add anything.
Okay,
I don't have anything to add. Janet, if you want to see an overview, like a drone shot of the fields, I have that pulled up, but that's
okay. Now I have finally figured out when they had the parking lot put in, I understood where this field was located.
okay.
I knew DeFazio, there's multiples at DeFazio, so I was like, okay, which one is this? So if you guys have done with McLeod, we can get to some of the other projects afterwards. Allison, we can see you and everything. We can see you on one thing and we can hear you on the other thing.
I know, that's right. It works. I mean, it's the best I
Modern
can do.
technology. That does a lot of people do it that way. All right. So now we will go back to 160 Edgewater Drive, DP file number 234893. This is a continued notice of intent. And we have with us Steve Mayman?
Yeah, it's Steve Maimoni.
Maimoni, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And you have others with you?
Yeah, I have Dan, I have Dave Burke and Sasha.
Do we see all of those people? I see Dan.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
Dan,
I'm
can you
here.
hear us?
I can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
others-
see a Sasha.
I believe the
Sasha
other
and-
two populated in as attendees. So I just
Ah.
moved it.
Great.
There they
Dave
are.
Burke and Sasha. Okay. And you guys can hear us? Dave, you can hear us? Sasha, you can hear
Can you
us?
see me? Can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
great.
Thank you. Okay, so you were here last time and we talked about your trees and you needed to go back and provide us with a little bit more information.
Yeah, some
Where-
wetland delineations, and kind of more definitive, information on the plans, on the proposed.
And who's going to present? Are you going to present or one of your?
Between Dan and Dave, I would imagine.
All right, and if there is something to be shared and want to pull up?
Well, this is Dan, and we had a couple takeaways out of last meeting, right? One of them was and this has been updated in the report that's been distributed to you guys. It was to define the removal technique of the trees. In other words, with a crane at the front of the side of the house, so it wouldn't be heavy equipment back disturbing the wetlands. There was also wanted some clarification on what invasives were going to be removed as part of it. And part of and really what that is a small section of buckthorn that comes over the BVW line into the 25-foot within that buffer zone. And that's going to be removed by hand. And that's pointed out on the map. Another thing that came up was on the survey plot, we saw, it was kind of questioned, a pile of lawn clippings and leaves that were at the back of towards the river, further into the wetlands. And I took a look at it, I took some pictures, and in my opinion, trying to remove it would be more disturbance than leaving it where it is. It's decomposing, it's putting organic material back in. I agree with, and point out that we shouldn't continue to do that, but it was an inherited pile, and I think removing it trying to remove it would end up being more disruptive than just letting it decay away.
Is there some way we can be looking at this plan on? Maybe Clay could bring it up if nobody on your team can.
I can bring up the landscape plan and the tree schedule if you guys want.
I think that was probably useful.
And that was probably the biggest piece of what we needed to come back with was, remember, I don't know if you remember, but on the plan, the gray area of the planting plan, we couldn't really read, it wasn't defined. And that was in fact the area that the mitigation planting was going to take place. But we wanted to spell that out a little close, a little more with more detail so that you could see what the plant lists or pool of plants they're going to draw from to meet the mitigation 2-to-1, 4-to-1 requirements on native species planted back within the wetland area. And while Sasha's talking about that, I'll go back and grab my report so I can show you the updates from the full report when he's done.
Okay, and if you could first zoom in into the area that is within our jurisdiction, so
Yep,
you have.
Just a second, I'll do that.
Yeah, that would be helpful. So we see the Charles River. This is in the 200-foot riverfront. There's also a bordering vegetated wetland, and you will be within the 100-foot buffer of that wetland system. Okay, so we can point out maybe all of the different resource areas.
Right, so here's the river, the wetland area. Here is I'm having a little hard time reading this because I'm so zoomed out here, but this is the wetland buffer zone here.
Yep. No, that's the actual edge of wetland.
That's the boundary.
Right, sorry, edge of the wetlands. I apologize. That's the edge of wetlands, yes. I believe this, the 25-foot buffer is in here somewhere, and then by the side of that. Yeah, I think this is the 100 right here.
Now I lost your cursor. Okay, so, well, you have the 100-foot from the river that's diagonally through the whole thing. So that's your riverfront
Yeah, that
area.
goes
crosses through the wetlands.
Yep, that's through there.
It crosses through the house too.
And the 200-foot riverfront area crosses through the house.
Right, there it is.
Yeah, so that's the 200-foot. So basically everything from the house to the river is within the 200-foot riverfront area. Then you have your the 100-year flood zone is
Right.
really close up to the house.
It's this darker kind of dotted line that goes through here.
Is there an elevation that goes with that?
Yes, it's 201.4 if I remember correctly. Again, I can zoom in and take a peek. You see if I can. So the patio that's proposed is below that grade, so we're not taking away from the flood zone.
Okay, is there an elevation that is written on that patio?
There is an elevation there. I think it's 201.2.
2012.
And so it's written right on there is, like, I can't read that, but it's written on there that the patio is a lower elevation than the 100-year flood.
Correct.
And then you have, and so there's nothing else that is in grading higher in that flood zone. You're not changing any other grades.
That is correct.
Okay. So then, and are you adding any impervious area besides the house that's existing between the house and the river? Are you adding any sheds, any
Nope.
patios, anything?
Existing shed and the patio that's going in, it will be permeable.
Okay, it's a permeable patio. And how much gravel is underneath the patio for the permeability?
That is up to the wetland engineer, I believe, but I would imagine it's going to be probably between 2 and 1 feet.
Okay, because it should be at least 12 inches. So you said that between 1 and 2 feet, so that's fine. There should be a detail somewhere. You have a detail of that patio? Of the stone underneath the patio?
Not on this plan. No, I did not provide those details. I did not know they were necessary for this meeting.
But somebody has a detail of the patio, of the permeable pavement. I mean, that can be created.
Right, that can easily be added.
Detail of patio. Of course. Now, the 100-foot buffer to the wetland.
If I could interrupt for just 1 second, I'm sorry. I'd like to pull up my screen. I have some zoomed in, easier to follow of your jurisdiction. I think it might just be a little easier to see.
Yeah,
if
we're
we
going to
go with
want to
that.
come back to this one, but yes,
Yep.
that's fine.
So Sasha, you could stop sharing.
Oh, yeah, let me get out of here. Sorry, I'm a little rusty at Zoom here.
I thought if somebody else shared, they would just
Yeah.
take you over.
It just told me I couldn't do it with someone
Ah.
else sharing. Okay, there we go.
Oh.
So I am going to share.
Lena, really.
Let's see if this one works.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so what this is it's the same plan, Sasha had here. This is a close-up of that area, so we can
Okay.
see, the BVW here, the easements, the area between the easements. There's the 100-year floodplain. Just at the very outside, there's the 200-foot riverfront, but the 100-foot buffer there. So you can see some of the elevations and some of the detail a little closer. And this is what we looked at last time too.
Well, wait, hold on. Zoom back out.
Sure. Sorry.
Where's the 100-foot buffer?
Yeah.
100
I see the
The
100-foot flood. I see the flood. I see the 200-foot. Nothing's actually labeled, so that's kind of drive me a little crazy.
But
But
also,
where's the 100-foot buffer?
I also have, which I was moving to, is the stamp plot plan, but this one was more done for the planting. Same plan, but it has the labels on it. So give me just a sec, and we're going to find that one. So here is the same thing without the planting, but we have the colored lines so we can see where they are a little better.
Okay.
So here's the 100-foot wetlands buffer zone. You can see it runs
Okay,
right
it
by the
comes all the way
shed.
up and hits the house.
Yeah, it curls back
And so
over.
kind of the
here.
back of the shed and hits the house. Okay.
And this is the 200-foot riverfront
Riverfront.
area. Okay, so this is existing conditions, right?
And wait,
So
where are
that's-
the easements? Are the easements on this plan?
Here's the 1 and 2.
Okay.
This is the second one.
And-
This is the first one.
And now which trees are coming out, or is that we have to go back to the other plan for that?
We have a different map for that, and that is, so same plan, right? This is the proposed conditions with the full, with not the planting detail, but the
Okay.
proposed
Talking about the
conditions.
trees coming out.
Here they are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, et cetera. And again, we talked about a large number of them being in the easements. The green ones are staying. These are the oaks, 1, 2, 3, and then the rest that are coming out. These two
Okay,
are
but
beyond the 100-foot.
don't go off of this plan yet and zoom in a little bit more so we can read those numbers.
Oh, went the wrong way. I have this, which is a close-up of the
Okay.
area.
Okay.
That might be a little easier. That's why I know those other ones are hard to read.
Okay, so now we have to can all the commission members, now I can't see you, but I'm hoping that you're out there working with me on this. I guess I could bring you up a little bit. So I like to talk about the trees. And I guess we're gonna start with tree number 1, because this is how they're labeled. They're labeled 1 through 24, and you're gonna tell us which ones are coming out and which ones are staying in. I mean, the green ones are staying in.
Right, the 3 of them are staying in 13, 18, 19, and the rest.
Okay, and
coming
so
out.
all of these trees are within, all 24 of these trees are within our jurisdiction, because they're either within the riverfront or they're within the 100-foot buffer. Right?
Or both. Yep.
Or both. Okay. So let's start with tree number 1. And tell us about tree number 1 and why it's coming out.
The sort of a blanket statement, there are specific issues with certain trees, but in general, the size of these pine trees and the proximity to the house and the potential of striking the house and injuring, people and property is an overriding concern for all these pines that have grown without much in the way of lateral branching, so they haven't developed branch taper. Most of the live crown ratio is poor. It's all growth way at the tops of the trees, which, potential failure issues and wind events. So that's part of it. Tree number 17, by the way, is dead already. It's dead standing.
Okay, but we're starting with tree number 1. We want to
Okay.
see tree number 1. Do you have a picture of tree number 1? We want to understand what's going on with tree number 1. It seems to be to the side of the house. And why is tree number 1
There's tree
considered
number.
hazardous?
It's at risk, not hazardous. They're all at risk. We don't use
Okay,
hazardous.
isn't every tree that's like in the world hazardous?
No, not
at
hazardous. We
risk or
don't
whatever
use
you're-
that word. Hazard
At risk.
is at
Okay.
risk, exactly.
Isn't it,
Well,
but it would
they are-
every single tree be at risk? Isn't that like what it is? Every tree's at risk? Because
Well,
they're trees?
there is, and the thing is, what is the threshold of tolerance of that risk? You could eliminate risk by cutting every tree in the world down, but what are the benefits that outweigh that? And compared to, do you have to sleep under it? So with that in mind, this is well within striking distance of the house, as all these trees are that we're talking about. They're all 80 to 100-foot pine trees. And you can see there's no lateral branching on these, so you don't develop branch taper. Without the trunk taper, without that, you don't get the rigidity that you need to support it. And eventually, as the tops grow and continue to develop canopy at the very peaks, the moment arm ends up way down here, and you end up with low trunk failure.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at. on,
Okay. That's tree number 1. Now, can you go back to the plan that shows the tree numbers so we understand where tree number 2 is? And then we can go look at the picture of tree number 2.
sure. Where's my, okay, so tree number 2 is just in front of it a little bit,
It's a 16-inch.
pine. All the ones, with the exception of this one, they're all white pines.
Okay.
Eastern white pine.
So let's look at
Except-
the picture of tree number 2.
Tree number 2. So safe scenario, you don't see a branch all the way up through there. You got the shed and the house and which tree number 1 could hit the shed as well, but more concerned with the house and the rear yard where Mr. Mamoni's family will be utilizing. So that's the whole target area within that same situation.
Tree number 2, huh? Okay, let's go back to see where tree number 3 is.
Well, I can show you right here. That's
your
number
map.
1.
I need to
There's
see
number
it on the
2.
map.
Okay,
Can I ask a quick
coming
question?
right up.
Am I able
3.
to ask a question,
Who's asking a question?
Lena?
Yes.
There it is. Zoom is trying to quit on me, but I'm trying to stop it. I see it's sloping down away from the house towards the river or towards the wetland. Is that correct?
Yes. That is correct. It's sloping towards the river.
The river. So if a tree is to fall, would it fall down the slope, not up, or am I
The
just?
slope is negligible. There's not the
And
slope.
not only that, in an event that causes failure, it could be on a very steep slope and still fall uphill. I mean, conventional wisdom, you think it'd fall down and usually, but not in a weather event, which would be something that would cause catastrophic failure. One of these trees anyway, especially with the wind tunnel effect of the open area between the house and the as it funnels down to the river. It would actually probably, it's hard to say, but you definitely can't say one way or the other where a tree's going to fall.
Okay, thank you.
No
Can
problem.
I want to see tree 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 15, and 14. I want to see the ones near us that are more open to the
Okay,
light.
well, Allison, the one thing to look at on this plan is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 15, and 14 are all within they're all within the MWRA easement.
So they could be cut down anyways, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't have to look at those.
Okay.
trees, I think.
So-
I guess that's my opinion. Those are in the easement. It's a sewer easement. They shouldn't be growing in the easement.
So we should jump to 8 then.
I think we're jumping to, Allison, are you with me on this or?
I'm with you. I mean, I know they have the right to do it, but would they ever have to, they would never have to come in front of us, right?
Who?
The MDC. I mean,
Yeah,
them.
they would have to come in front of us to do it. But they wouldn't have to replicate necessarily, but they maybe would have to replicate. Yeah,
Well, that's
somebody
what I
would
was
have to
wondering.
replicate.
I mean, yeah, I mean, so, all right. So one could say 16 may or may not be on the line, but in any event, I mean, I
16.
understand why these trees look like this. They were all little trees. They all grew at the same time. They all were seeded. And there were a lot more trees probably that they went in and cut down. And so they get to the light, they went high, 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 high. This happens in Needham all over the place. And it is true that they are more unstable. The thing that some of them are close to the house and could hit the house if it blew in that direction. They look like they have kind of a big flare at the bottom. So I wonder what the soil is like. Might be kind of clayey. If you look at the tree, it has like, maybe because it's so tall and skinny, it has a big flare at the bottom, which is a little bit unusual for pines. So I don't know what the soil is doing, or maybe that's just a function of why they're so tall and skinny. But it is true that pines get brittle, and when they have just a top and they're growing like this, it's not that healthy, and you really can't grow much underneath them because they have such close cervical root systems. The problem that I have is if we allow, if we say, okay, go ahead and cut them all down, then, because they could hit the house. We have no, we've never done that before with any homeowner. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a problem just having a blanket approval of every single tree being cut down. If they haven't been sounded, if they don't have, rot. I mean, if they're right, like 22, for instance, a 30-inch or 36-inch right next to the house, that I could be scared about, or even the 18 and 19 and 17.
They're keeping 18 and 19.
They're keeping 18 and 19. So if they're keeping 18 and 19, doesn't their argument fall away a little bit?
No, those are,
No, because they're oak trees.
Oh, they're oaks. Okay. Let's look at the oaks. I'm curious, what do they look like? 18 and 19. Do you have pictures of them?
I do.
Okay.
So, and to your point, I know some of them we talked about in the easement, some of them we did find defects, right? So we could talk about those individually, as we get there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm curious what the oaks look like. Yeah, they're all right.
Another one with a big crack in it.
Yeah, the cracks are problems.
Yeah, here's one of the oaks. This is the number 13. That's the one furthest away beyond the far easement. That's a swamp white oak, and it'll actually do much.
Okay, they're very tough swamps.
Yeah,
they have hardwood. Yeah. Okay,
and they'll do much better without the competition of the pines around them.
Yeah, they will.
And then what was it, 18 and 19?
18 and 19, I think.
Okay, they have lower lateral branching. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
thank you. All right, that
19.
makes sense. But see how the trees all have a big flare at the bottom?
That's because the soil is not good. It's not really.
So to tell you the truth, besides the cracks, that if you have bad soil and you have a flare, that means that the roots are probably even more surfacal, and they're even more likely to actually fall over.
Yes.
Fall over, because that tells me something. And when you have something like that, that's very dangerous. Because what happened there was that the central leader died and came out on either side. So it already blew over. That one that you had shown, the one with the big giant, no, the
23.
one, whatever, that had the pine that had the big split like this. That one already blew over. Because those two things came up after the first one blew over.
maybe not.
You see what I mean? So that, that's
It could also be pine borer damage from like when it was young.
Maybe, but that's a very unstable. Like when you have something like this,
Absolutely.
it can just go like that. It's extremely unstable. The angle of the coming out. So, I think that we'd have to just really document that these have very shallow roots. They have cracks. They have little tufts on the top. They're very close to the house. They are significantly pose a significant damage, not just because they're white pines, but because of all these other issues. And if you make a good case that way, and it's documented, and it looks like it would be, I would also say something about the root flares and the poor shallow roots. I would write that down. I would document that, because that is really, if you go into the swamp and you look at what happens after a big windstorm, and they had this big flare, you're going to see a giant tree knocked over, and you'll see that the roots are only like a foot in the ground because they can't go deeper because it's just sitting in wet. And,
right. What would be a buttress
they're very
root is now.
unstable. Very unstable.
What
When
would
you
have been a
have a
buttress
flare
root
like that,
is-
if it's not an elm or something, it always has a flare. But a white pine doesn't usually have a flare like that. That tells me something about the soil and what's underneath. That it's not good. It should just go straight down like that.
Yeah, it should be a slight flare. What we're
A
seeing
slight
here is
one, but
what-
not a big. Not
No,
a
no,
great
what-
big
what-
one. That tells me that that's unstable, and some of it might be because it's so tall. But I think it's more than that.
No, it wouldn't be the
I
tall.
think the soil is crummy. Maybe there's ledge
Yeah.
under it. I don't know.
It's probably eroding away, and what would have been underground as part of the buttress roots are now exposed, and we're seeing them as part of the flare.
So it isn't just, it is that there are real structural problems all the way from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, then I think you make a good case. They're not, they really are, the risk factor is much higher. Then you remember that place, that residential house that they were building a new house, it was last year, and they had these great big pines. And they were beautiful pines. They weren't like these pines. And he wanted to cut them all down because they were too close to the house. They were too big, he thought. And we allowed him to cut down a few, but those pines weren't like these pines.
Yeah, I
They
know
were-
that we
they were
went
different.
through one by one on those, so. that's why I
Yeah,
wanted
and
to
those
make
were
sure
very
you were-
different. That was different than this.
Well, it's really important for us to be able to document and to like say out loud that this is different because this is not something we typically allow. It's not something that we want to encourage people to do, to cut the trees down in their backyard to create a lawn. So
No.
we have to be able to be comfortable with what is happening here.
Yeah, I would go back and have a little bit more discussion about, for the argument that they all demonstrate this, you didn't really go with the soil and the roots. And I think that's an important factor.
Are all 21 trees white pines?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go with this?
It's sort of
now?
if I could just throw one last thing in, it is part of the plan to, yes, remove the white pines, allow the more desirable, stable, structurally sound trees, the oaks, to do better, which will still be in that, in the same area. So it's not, it isn't in, yes, there'll be more lawn gain from this, but it won't be, like just a straight slash out of that. And, the idea too would be in the, as part of the mitigation, to put things back into the wetlands that serve the wetlands a little better, in that, it's not going to be 50 years and we're dealing with white pines again, sort of thing, with some more strategic plantings and so on and so forth, which we've talked about. I know.
I would like to see trees, though. I mean, I don't want to have a bunch of little teeny weeny shrubs because you're cutting down a forest.
Yes, no, the mitigation plan is, it's a big planting plan. So the part concerning the mitigation, not the ornamental stuff out front and foundation and all that, is primarily going to be trees. And there will be some shrubs mixed into things like, shablo and stuff that are good for the
Yeah, that's
habitat,
pretty big.
bringing
That's okay.
in berries,
Hold on one
pollinators,
second.
et
Hold
cetera.
on,
Sure.
hold on one second. Hold on. Okay, so I just want to make sure we have talked about the trees to be removed, because then we can go on to the back to the landscape plan. But are we, Allison, from your looking at all these different pictures, do you need more information? Do you need a site visit for the trees to be coming out? Do you need?
I don't think I need a
anything?
site visit. I think I want them to have more argument.
Expand this documentation and the argument.
Expand the
side.
documentation.
For
Exactly.
for the removal of the 21 trees that
Yes.
are white pines,
Yes.
that you've seen the photos, and this
Yeah.
is an unusual case because the Conservation Commission is not in favor of typically taking trees down.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that said, let's go to the image, the picture, the best image you have of the landscaping, of the proposed landscaping.
And I can chip in on that when you get to that slide.
Great.
So that's the blowout view, but we want to concentrate more in
Yeah,
the
let's zoom in.
wetland area.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Okay.
So in that hashed out area up top, we have
Which-
a list of possible native plant species, trees and
Zoom
shrubs.
way into that piece if you're going to talk about it, so we can read those words. Thank you.
There you go. So
And I have it reproduced in text in my report for,
Yep, but this is better for us
Yeah.
to be able to see it on the screen. Everybody can see it.
perfect. Thank you. So there's 21 trees to be removed, as we said. that means we need to put in either 2 trees or 4 shrubs for every single tree that's coming out per town codes. So we're proposing the listed there native trees and the listed there native shrubs. Everything has to, for the trees, they have to be at least 1.5 inch caliper, as we discussed last time.
I thought it was
That's
bigger than
mentioned
that.
there.
Bigger than that.
What was that?
I thought it was 2.5.
No, it's 1.5. We checked last time during the meeting. In fact, one of the
What
commissioners
happened?
checked the code.
Oh, we used to be, I thought we upped that to 2.5.
Because, oh, yes, that was an important part of the conversation because somebody looked it up while we were on the call. But if we have the wrong number, we want to make sure that we have the right number.
I thought it was more than 1. 1.5 is a tiny tree.
Yes.
I thought it was
Yeah,
1.5 to
that's
2 myself, but we looked it up and it was 1.5 minimum, I think.
In this situation, could we require 2.5?
I'm fine with that.
Yes, we can
Yeah.
then.
Okay.
Yep, good.
So more trees than shrubs.
I'm also fine with that.
Right.
And
We're
the thing-
hoping to
you're
do
gonna
more
have-
trees than
You're gonna have
shrubs.
trouble finding Fagus grandiflora. It's a beautiful tree, but you'll have trouble finding it. And, you know, the tulip tree, I don't think these, if they don't like a tall, skinny tree, that one gets really tall and gets hit by lightning and gets
Yeah,
so.
but I mean, we're talking about years down the line, first of all, and
Yeah,
second
I
of all.
know, but yeah,
This
but I
is just,
mean,
this is just a list, like I was saying, this is just a list of,
yeah, but I'm
what we could
commenting,
possibly be
you might
doing.
not want the tulip tree. The other ones are fine.
And I agree with that, yes. They do grow very tall and they do grow relatively fast, but we're still talking about a 2 inch caliper tree is going to take 25 years before it becomes
Yeah.
any kind of a danger to anybody. And
I mean,
that's,
the commission can specify which trees and make you come up with a plan to show the location of all of them, along with the shrubs. So they could be more particular than just looking at your list, just to let you know.
sure, that's, if
Yeah,
that's
I
what's
mean, we
required. we'll be happy to vote on
definitely
that.
want to understand the types of trees. We also understand that we can't always get the tree. The whole
Right.
et cetera, I wasn't too crazy about, but that's why Allison can give a little bit more direction than I can certainly give. But if there's things that you do not like on this list,
Yeah, by
Allison,
all
then-
means, and I mean,
I just
I
think
could
that,
list
I
every
just think the
single
tulip
native
tree is not
species,
maybe
just-
the greatest thing.
Okay, all right, we can take the tulip tree off.
That's it. I mean, the other ones are
okay.
fine. You know,
I'd
the
like
other
to take
plant-
the et cetera off.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the et cetera was just leaving it open to the point that, outside
you
of
could
these
put-
trees, there's dozens more native trees that are.
Yeah,
perfectly good.
there are dozens. I mean,
good
you could have
locations.
sweet gum, you could have more
Yeah,
swamp white oak if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
Swamp white oak lives on this property, so you could.
and we do have
that's
some white
probably a
oak.
good bet.
We do have some white oak in the plant list elsewhere in the property, actually.
A swamp white or just a straight white?
Just straight white because it's not in the swamp.
Yeah, swamp white is much easier to grow. Regular white oak, good luck to you if you can get it to grow. I've never been lucky. I've never had one live.
There's one in the backyard now, luckily enough. A
Yeah, the
white
ones
oak.
that were planted 100 years ago.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
seem
yeah,
to live.
absolutely.
But try to buy one and plant one now. Good luck. They're very hard to get going. But the swamp white is not. The swamp white is fine.
Sure.
Great plant.
Yep.
So, okay, so this is this section that is hatched. How big of a square footage is this? Does anyone know?
Usually bi-color.
I can go in and measure. Just give me 1 second.
Only to be realistic about the number of trees you're actually gonna get in there. Because I know, I believe you showed us other trees, other places. We were just kind of zooming in on this because it's adjacent to the wetland.
That,
And the
I had the same
shrubs for
question
the-
about it.
sorry.
It says, the little note here says that you're gonna plant 2 saplings or 4 shrubs per tree removed, and you're requesting to remove 21 trees. Is there enough space? All of that mitigation planting is going into this little hatched area?
Let me zoom out just to answer that question, because, well, we're not going to plant, we can't plant in the easements, as we know, but there is some areas still within the buffer zones along the sides that planting is taking place as well.
Okay,
And-
I thought you were trying to fit everything into that little space.
No, it's not realistic. No, of course. So that's, as much as we can, we want to keep close to the wetlands. for that purpose. And that's where, maybe the use of some more shrubs to make the numbers work, but the focus is on trees.
Right, because you can
So-
underplant with the shrubs, right? You can create layers, which is more natural than just having groups of shrubs and groups of trees.
How
We
about,
create those transitions.
can you
So where
plant,
you,
can you plant between the easements?
Yes,
I
you
mean,
could.
There's a narrow little strip, but we talked about this last time that, to some degree, you have to be fair to the homeowner too, where you're not chopping up the yard with.
Right. Well, you don't have
Lots
to
of plants.
plant straight across, but you can plant within the easement.
Yeah, we can definitely
And
add
then
little nodes,
between.
little islands and on two ends here, one end.
I don't know what
actually
you
is another
have, 10 feet there or something?
About that, yeah, or 8 feet, I think.
But, this blob too represents the area. You can stretch further kind of along as it gets skinnier and skinnier along the wetland line there. You can squeeze some stuff in. I think we can get a lot of stuff in there and plant densely, not overplant, but plant densely. And then across the way, closer to the house, all of those plantings are native too. I didn't count them against this number. But
Now, what about trees, like around where you have your existing shed to remain and that what you have marked off as lawn? Is there any area in there that you can still plant trees in?
This is actually all still buffer zone, this whole side down to about where the image ends. There's
Well,
the
that's not
200
buffer
foot.
zone there. I think the buffer zone ends at that's not the
Right.
buffer zone line, that's the riverfront area, but the
This is
buffer
the
zone
river-
was like the patio and it goes through the shed.
Right
the
to
back
about
of the
here.
shed in the corner of the house.
Yeah, right
That's the
through
buffer
here,
zone.
this one.
Yeah, that's a 100-foot buffer. So we
Yeah.
want to be inside that with your 21, 40, however many, 42, 40, 42 trees. With
Yep,
the
so-
3 trees that you're remaining as well.
right, so so we could count all the plants that are shown in the landscape plan that are, being scrolled over right now. We could count them against that number. I didn't. I said, let's provide an additional 21, an additional, group of trees and shrubs to
Compensation.
make up for those 21.
Well, are these trees here that you were saying you didn't include, are they native?
They are all native as well.
Yeah, so they can be counted towards
They
that.
can be. I didn't because I wanted to make sure that we're, really putting our best foot forward and showing that we're not trying to strip this property bare. We're trying to plant it with beautiful new stuff that's, native and site appropriate and will replace to a large degree what's being taken out, just place in more, kind of appropriate positions for the property and for use. And then across
So-
the way, we'll create a new woodland, basically, a new wetland woodland with shrubs and trees to make up for the few unhealthy pines, which really are super unhealthy. And by the way, another thing that we didn't talk about with white pines is they also don't like their feet wet. So the more, water levels globally rise, the more endangered that group of trees would be as the river gets potentially higher and its floodplains get higher. So those trees are going to be going down in the near future, most likely.
They are in floodplain now.
So, as far as, so we do need to understand exactly what's going to be planted. So we want to have a sense of, we appreciate that these are native. We appreciate that you understand the numbers that you need. We want to make sure that they actually fit where you're in your section that you're proposing, that it's not kind of ridiculous. So, I
So
guess
I'm just a little bit confused because last time we had this meeting, it was actually you specifically that said, just calling out the types of plants you want to use and the area they're going to be used in is sufficient.
yeah, I guess I wasn't picturing all 42 trees were gonna possibly go in that area. Cause I thought
I
you
mean,
were gonna call
I
it like.
I really
you
don't
had
think
it
it's
all
going to
like this.
be. I really don't think it's going to be 42 trees. Like we said, it's going to be a mixture. We're going to do majority trees, but like I said before, adding shrubs is beneficial Not only because it means we don't have to try to jam so many trees in one area, but because it creates a more natural environment for wildlife and for, the river in general. So it's going to be probably something like, maybe 18 trees and then a mixture of different large shrubs and medium shrubs.
So
which
that's what they
is-
need to propose. I mean,
So if you guys
need to
need a
tell them.
layout, we can do that, but then we get into like, okay, we can draw pretty plans, but until we start digging and planting, we don't know what unforeseen contingencies we're going to be
wait a
up
minute.
against. So
Well,
you guys had mentioned that you would want an as-built plan after it was done anyway.
no. We always ask for a plan in the wetland. We always ask for that.
Okay,
Always. I've never just had a list.
okay, so we're happy to provide
Ever.
that. I mean, last time you guys said the list was fine, so that's why we just.
I
used
don't
the list.
know what was said. I'm sorry, but I don't remember if that's even possible that you would have said that, Janet. Did that
Right,
what you
well,
meant?
it was a very confusing meeting with trying to understand what was happening. And all of a sudden, this list came up here that we didn't have before. So we're like, all right, we need to understand that it's native plants. We need to understand the trees. So I could have given that impression. I don't totally remember. I know I wanted to know the numbers and I wanted to be sure that we were getting the right numbers in there. But I thought in my mind, because you had these circles, other places, that's what I was kind of envisioning was going to happen in your blob. So I could appreciate that maybe they were not going to be specifically, these are your maples, these are your, whatever. But there were going to be circles that said that they were trees or they were shrubs. And then they were going to be potentially these options of types of trees. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
you have these other
Yeah, we
circles.
can definitely provide that. That was not what I gathered from our last meeting.
Yeah, sorry that if I did not understand that.
And it doesn't have to be beautiful. I mean, these are very nice symbols that you have. It can be extremely simple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is
it was
the
gonna be
illustrative,
like you have the
illustrative plan.
others,
Yeah.
like where your circles and your, areas are obviously shrubs and trees. That's what I was expecting to see, but not necessarily know that there were specific types of trees in specific
Sure.
types.
So yeah,
of
so we
locations.
can definitely provide that. That's not a problem.
Then you'll know exactly how many you're getting and that it matches what's expected. If you just say it's 5 trees, it's so hard to visualize it, if it even fit there, And I mean, shrubs are fine. I mean, you do want to have it layered, but a lot of times people come in, they have 2 trees and they have 50 shrubs. And that's what they think, oh, it's fine. The 50 shrubs equal so many trees. And that's the only reason I said this should be a little heavier on the trees than on the shrubs. Not that there's no shrubs, but because you are cutting down a forest. That's all. That's the only reason I said that.
Yeah, and absolutely. We couldn't agree more with that, as the overall goal is to recreate to preserve
It's
the integrity of the
deciduous. You're
wetland.
making a deciduous forest, which is more appropriate because there's berries and, a pine forest is really very sterile. It doesn't support a lot of,
That's
when they're
100%
little,
right.
they're big.
And that pine forest doesn't have an understory at all. It's all lawn.
No, I know.
So
But you don't, a few little pine cones, it's a couple of squirrels,
sadly, very little wildlife value there now.
Exactly.
And we're trying to build that up because one of the things that Steve and his family love about this property and why they bought this property when they were living next door before is they love the river and they love the natural resources there. And they love the beauty of it and they want to, kind of clean this up, but also make it fit where, the setting where it is. So yeah, I'm happy to draw up a little, detail for that area that shows kind of a schematic layout for the plants.
Yeah.
And then if, site specifics require that things shift, then, the council will still be right. It'll just be differently laid out.
Okay.
So if you need to make any changes, just contact us in the conservation department from whatever plan you give us.
Okay.
So where are we?
Something else that might be helpful is to have an actual list on the side somewhere that gives you the count and the.
Oh, and
site.
we can't quite hear you, Paulina.
Something that I find helpful is to have a little key or a legend that says what kind of tree or shrub species and how many of them you have. Just so it's easier
There
for us
is
to-
that on the, there is that in the landscape plan. We just, if you can just scroll back down, it was on the landscape plan. Right there, yep. So that plan there for all the, because before we weren't specifying the wetland area plantings, but that plan shows all the landscape plantings, including the ones in that buffer zone, shows their quantities, their sizes, you know, and a picture of each plant for kind of visual stimulation. And we'll be happy to provide the same kind of thing for the little conceptual layout of the mitigation plantings.
Thank you.
And then I'm not sure if maybe I heard that, what you were looking for as well, but in the mitigation plantings, instead of having just kind of the list here, we can have more of a table of what is represented in that, in that drawing to go along with it, something, like this, that'll say, 6 betulas, 12 acres, et cetera. So we have the counts anyway in one spot and then them laid out on the drawing and counted there too, maybe, but just so it's all in the report.
I think what, to be fair and honest, and again, we're talking about availability and native plants, which is sadly very tough sometimes. What we can do is say, X amount of trees total, X amount of shrubs total. So you guys know that, a fair number of trees is going in. I don't want to promise certain numbers of each plant because there's no way we can guarantee that we can find everything in those numbers.
If you need substitutions, you can let conservation know and we can approve them at that point.
Okay. All right.
So come in with like a hard numbers, and then if it has to vary based on the day at the nursery, alert you that we weren't able to get 12 of these, we only got 6 and we got 6 of these instead.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So last meeting, there was questions about the wetland delineation. Can we get those questions?
Sure. Yeah, what was the
Dave with us here
decision?
now?
Yep. Let's talk about the wetland delineation. How was that determined and where are you at with that?
Well, I've completed my work on the site and.
Can you introduce yourself for the record, please?
Yeah, I'm Dave Burke. I'm a wetland specialist, work out of Berlin, Massachusetts presently. And I was hired by Mr. Maimoni several weeks ago to meet your request regarding the review of an existing wetland boundary on the property and the finalization of that field exercise with thorough documentation. So before you is my report. It's dated the 6th of this month, and you had mentioned methodology. It's clearly spelled out within the report, but per standard, I observed the topography of the area, do soils evaluation with a Dutch auger, drilling holes in the soil, and of course, take account of the vegetation on the site and then the overall hydrology of a site. And that's what I did here. I think it's worth mentioning, as I state in the report, that the site does qualify as being highly altered. And you guys, Allison made some good points earlier about the shallow soils on the property and those soils being influenced by flood levels and not always hospitable to tall trees. That the soils right across the site they've been historically altered, as has the bank of the Charles River, as stated in my report. So it was kind of going back to my soils methodology. while it was conclusive, it's not completely typical of a site that is not as disturbed. And this disturbance is no doubt stemming from construction of the subdivision many years ago and the dredging and armoring of the Charles River along this stretch. I think soils and spoils and dredging and tailings were cast up to fill wetlands, frankly, for whatever purposes back when. And I state in the report, the property right across the street it's interesting to me because it's historic, but it's very old and long used property as I understand it. I'm not really familiar with it, but it's the polo club or a golf course or something as such. And they have evidence of armoring on their banks, which with using large boulders. So
Across the street? You mean
No.
across the river?
Sorry, I'm getting tired for some reason. I did mean across the river. I can't imagine.
I was like, there's a polo across Edgewater Drive?
I was just quizzing you on that one. So I'm glad to see that you're paying such close attention. And so the bottom line is, as stated on the survey plan and within my report, I did in effect corroborate the flags that were in the field. I think, as we all know, those of us that have been at this a long time, no two delineators are going to do things exactly the same way. But in this case, I'm familiar with who did the work originally, and I didn't see anything that was worth splitting hairs about. And in effect, as I close in my report, agree with flags number 1 through 10, 11, or 12, whatever it was. They're labeled A1 through A11 or 12, I believe. So that's about that for me. Unless I might add that in this case that we didn't need to look for mean annual high water line. We just went for top of bank per the regulations, which tell us to do so in that circumstance.
For the riverfront?
Yes, for the river. Yeah. So that's my take on the matter. If I can chime in with anything else, I'm happy to do so.
Deb or Clay, did you review that report and confirm that everything in it is what we usually require?
Yeah, I did review it. So I know John Rockwood had flagged it before, so I was pretty sure it was going to be accurate. So this is just kind of, I guess, the report that goes along with John's delineation. So,
And it has everything, this report has everything that we typically require.
yeah, I mean, as far as the alternatives analysis, we were only given 2 options, and one of them was cut everything down and one of them was cut nothing down. So
Within my report?
no,
That
it
was part of
not.
my report.
It was part of Dan's report.
Oh, Dan, you were so clever there. Cut it all or cut nothing? Those were your options?
I thought we were talking
Well,
before. That's okay.
in this situation, yes.
50-50.
Well, you said one of your reasons, not cutting down was that trees might get damaged during construction.
Well, when we started this project, the construction was, we thought we were going in front of the board while construction was going on at the house. So at the time it was accurate, but not that piece of it was, I pulled it out of the revisions of the report because it's not.
Oh, it's
isn't
still in the
per-
report.
But there's no construction happening. There was gonna be, and now it's not, no construction.
Well, that was what I was questioning, because
Yeah,
all
we
the
were
work,
originally gonna do a pool and a pool house, but we decided that's not the
That's
avenue we want to do.
Now the only construction will be the patio moving forward if it's approved.
Okay. Anybody else in your team have anything to add? Steve? Anybody in your team? Everybody did their part?
Covered
I just want
it.
to verify, guys. So from
kind of from my end, what we need is a schematic plan of the mitigation planting area, showing the number of trees, and for now, the variety of tree that is up to availability and then approval by you guys if it needs to be changed, and number of shrubs for that area. And then we're also going to, on that plan, give a table for all that. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Is
so we'll
there-
go through the commission members and see if anybody has some other questions or anything to add. Peter?
Nothing additional, ma'am.
And I'm sorry,
David?
do you guys also need the patio detail, did you say?
Yes, what's underneath the patio. 'Cause if
Okay,
it's a
the permeable layers detail, okay.
Yeah,
And for my part, just so I can be, understand it too, we want, as Allison so well pointed out, some more argument as to why these trees are risk with more detail.
correct.
Got it.
Dave, you have any more questions or comments?
Oh, yeah, just a couple. I do think that you could squeeze some shrubs in that space between the easements. I mean, that's just, I think it would,
Sure. Yep.
and then the area where the trees are coming out, like half of them are on one of the easements. And I don't know, maybe you got to check with the whoever holds that easement, whether, that's okay with them.
Well, I mean, we run the risk if we plant anything within that easement, even if they allow it, the risk is they're just gonna show up one day when they have to do work and rip it all out. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
but
unfair.
typically you're not going to do work on a buried sewer, there's got to be some catastrophe before you do work. But I'm not suggesting you plant anything on the easement. I'm just saying between the easements, you could probably put some shrubs in there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I can expand that hashed area to include a couple of
But
bubbles.
the other section between, the 100-foot and the 50-foot, where half the trees are not in the easements, what's going to happen there? You're gonna take the trees down, you're going to grind the stumps. I mean, you could put some shrubs or trees there, right?
Where it says lawn,
Well,
It
if you
says
look-
100-year flood zone, those words.
no, if you look, the area between the 50 and the 100-foot buffer zone, the blue lines on one of the drawings, where like half the trees are on, it seems like, I'm just guessing, but half the trees are on one of the sewer easements and the other half are south of the easement, but north of the shed. There's nothing proposed to be planted there. So what's that gonna turn into, lawn? Or
I mean, everything that's lawn is labeled as lawn and all the planted areas are labeled as planted areas on the planting plan.
maybe I missed that.
No, so I think you have the right idea, Dave. What you see is plants are trees and shrubs, and everything else is a shed, there's a patio, and then there's lawn.
In this area here.
Where the trees are being taken out.
There's really no trees being taken out there.
No, the trees, if you look at
that's where the trees are being taken out.
Yeah, the trees are.
They're right up to the back of the house.
Yeah, no, they're just, you don't really see them on this plan, doesn't really show the trees coming out.
Right, because it was just too many marks on the plan. But yeah, the few trees that are within that area that are coming out, they're being replaced. They're just not being replaced exactly where they grew, which I didn't.
You're
understand was-
replacing a forest with lawn.
Well,
No, I mean, that's sort of what I get.
but
And I'm
you said
just
that it's
asking-
really a forest without an understory and without much wildlife value, and we're replacing it with a lot of plants that have much higher wildlife value.
No, I'm not
Replaced
questioning,
in different areas.
that. I'm questioning, like, it looks like all the new plantings are gonna be squeezed into that area. North of the easement and south of between the easement and the actual wetland boundary.
I mean, the question is, are we opening up that middle area to be a little bit more open yard? Yeah, yeah, that's happening, and we're just
Okay,
placing
so
those new plants elsewhere in the property within that zone.
Yeah, and so my question is, why couldn't we put some plantings in the area between the two easements and in the area?
Well, I think we definitely can do it in between the two easements, but not the
south
whole
of-
way,
south of
because
the easement? So
we're
you're,
trying to also allow the homeowner to have a usable yard, which they have now. So if they were to
Well,
leave
now-
these pine trees that don't provide much wildlife value and are dangerous and can fall over, we're just saying, okay, so leave the trees and you can have all the lawn you want, but you can't, it seems like I'm
seems
not
like
sure what
you're-
the value
you're-
of that is.
you're taking down the trees and creating the lawn.
Right, and then we're creating new planted areas elsewhere.
Yeah.
Much more densely planted areas too.
I mean, if you think of it, there's nothing here right now at all.
It's just
in this
grass.
whole area. So it's all right for lawn there, but not there. That's not,
Right.
I don't see that. If we can, create, you say we're cutting down a forest, but there's also, as Sasha said, the replanting, and it's almost like he's being penalized because he can have a lawn, just can't be near his house.
No, I think the point I'm trying to make is that, some planting should be in the areas where the trees are taken out. That's basically the guidance that the Wetlands Commission has for taking out trees. And it seems like, even there is some opportunity to put some plantings in the space between the easements.
Okay, so keep thinking about that. Dave, anything else, Dave, or I'm gonna move on to
No, that was my,
Sue? You have anything to add? Any questions or comments?
Question for confirmation. Was the removal technique of the trees itself, was that determined?
Yes, that was put in the report. It was modified to do via crane at the side and front of the house, so that wouldn't be heavy equipment back into the wetland area.
Okay, so that was decided. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah,
gonna cut them and then are you gonna grind them?
yes, grind
Or
the
you gonna-
stumps. Not
gonna
execute,
grind
not
the
pull
stumps?
them, grind them, yes. Minimal disturbance is to achieve the goal.
Paulina, you have anything to add or questions, comments?
I think all of mine have been answered.
Allison, anything more?
No.
The only other thing I wanted to make sure you're aware of is we were talking about it earlier with playing fields, the fertilizing of this lawn area. It is in a sensitive area. The Charles River is sensitive, and we really do not want fertilizing of that area, and that will be part of the order of conditions.
Yeah, we touched on that last
Organic, yeah,
time.
we
I think,
touched on
yeah.
it a minute.
Yep.
Just want to make sure everybody's aware that that's part of the criteria. All right, is there anybody in the audience that has any questions or comments? I hit all the commission members, I think. Didn't I? Anybody in the audience? Clay, is there anybody out there?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. Anything else from the applicant or his team?
Not for me. I think I know what I need to do.
I assume that this is not a difficult ask to finish it up, so then we can meet again on January 5th. Is that
Not a-
okay?
Yeah, it's minimal, and from our standpoint, what's the turnaround with the holiday as far as getting revisions to you guys, to Clay and Debbie?
I don't see Debbie anymore. Clay?
I think this one, because of the holidays, has a 3-week gap, so the deadline would be the 29th, the Thursday before New Year's.
So submit whatever by December 29th, and you will be on the January 5th.
6th.
6th?
The
My little agenda says the 5th.
Yeah, fifth is
The
Thursday.
5th is a Thursday, 5.
Okay.
Okay, so if everybody's good, we will have a motion to continue this to January 5th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So
Motion
moved.
it.
Yep. Paulina, did you second it?
Second it.
All in favor? Sue,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Paulina,
Aye.
Janet, I think I got everybody. Okay, great. Thank you for this lengthy discussion. That was very useful. And we're going back to the town project updates.
Thank you,
Justin?
guys.
Good to
Appreciate
see
it.
you. Thanks.
Hey,
Thanks, good night.
Good night. Thank you. All righty. Who's gonna talk to us now? Tom, you're up? Or
Yes,
is-
yes.
You're up.
So I have Justin Saviano with me too. He's the assistant town engineer.
Are you related to Gary Saviano
Yes, that's my father.
from Nita?
Yep.
Is it really? I assumed you were gonna say, no. Oh, I graduated high school with him.
Oh, nice. Small world.
Okay. Sorry.
So
Ready to go.
yeah, so I figured it's a good opportunity while we're talking about McLeod Field and just give you guys some updates and status on what's going on and what's coming up. So I think we put on the agenda, maybe I'll just go in order. Walker Pond is the first one on the list. So you guys know that we had a request for determination a couple of years ago for the sewer line. That has been completed. The construction is done. And it went under budget, so everything was fantastic. I'm sure the residents are happy that their betterment is half of what they was expecting it to be. So that's the good news. And it went out, it was completed without any issues. Good contract. Yep. So sticking with the Walker Pond theme, we had a notice intent last spring for drainage improvements, and that is nearly complete. We just have some signage to install and a little bit left to put some gravel at the edge of the road. And we'll be putting together an as-built plan after that. So probably expect something in the next few months.
And did it go relatively smoothly?
It did. And Woodall was a great contractor as well. They were went relatively smoothly. We did spread the wildflower mix out there. I am not sure what we're actually getting right now. It looks like
That's the joy of wildflowers.
yeah, it looks like weeds right now, but we'll overseed them again. See what comes up.
Is Ed still on, or did he leave us?
I think he left.
I didn't want to bring it up earlier, but now that you're talking about Walker Pond, we are curious about the fertilizer program at the Walker Fields and to make sure that that is not impacting the Walker Pond in any way.
All right, well, you'll probably get another chance because this is part of our discussion.
Okay.
We are working on a plan, and it'll become a notice of intent in the near future. We're thinking around March for repairs to the outlet structure of Walker Pond. So Walker Pond, if you're familiar with Walker Pond, it drains underneath Central Avenue towards Oxbow and heads to the Charles River. And the outlet structure has been causing some issues. We've been trying to look at making some repairs. I think we're going to go and do a total overhaul and create like a sampling port area for water quality testing at the same time. There's also an inlet, a 12-inch inlet into the pond that never had a head wall. So the piping gets separated. That is going to be part of the notice of intent to fix that. Plus some water quality improvements we want to make when we look at enzymes or herbicides, algicides as well, and do a sediment sampling plan in case in the future we have the thoughts of sediment removal. But sediment removal is not part of the plan. It's just, it will be a sampling plan in order to indicate whether there's any opportunities in the future.
So when you say sediment removal, does that mean dredging?
It would mean either hydroraking or dredging, but it's not part of the plan.
Right, it's just you're gonna sample to figure out what makes the most sense in the next round.
Yeah, so if we want to look at sections to hydrorake or sediment remove, if the town has the appetite in doing some of this work, we could take a look at it in the future. But it's just make sure we have a comprehensive plan, a water quality plan in the future. So that's Walker Pond. So I can ask Ed about the fertilizer management for our next meeting.
Because it will be interesting to see how, with the improvements that you've done, how Walker Pond looks this, when does it end up looking the worst, like August? Isn't that like
I'd say so, yeah.
the green, when the green comes?
We had that dry spell.
Hopefully it'll be better this year. You've done a lot of things.
Yeah, so we're also going to be looking at some more BMPs at the same time, so.
Great.
I'm not sure it's going to be part of our notice of intent, but it certainly will be looked at, using some more infiltration techniques and treatment for the whole catchment area that goes to Walker Pond.
Excellent.
So the next, if you don't have any questions on that, the next on the list is the reservoir sediment removal and BMPs. So last May, Beta attended a Conservation Commission meeting, and they showed you a sampling plan. We are moving forward with an ENF to do some BMPs and for some sediment removal over the reservoir. If you guys are familiar with the reservoir, it's at 500 Dedham Ave. It's right behind our building that we're at right now. So the ENF draft will be ready next week. Plan on sending it out to the Conservation Commission department, and then perhaps talking with you all again at our next meeting, or your next meeting, before it's formally submitted to MIPA.
Are you looking for us to look at any specific areas? You need any feedback from us on that?
Yeah, perhaps when they finish up the ENF, we can look at, what other type of habitat management we can take a look at. Deb, I think you had some thoughts on the aqua life in the pond. What could be supplemented. So yeah, maybe that's the opportunities right now as we're heading towards MIPA. And then we're probably expecting to file a notice of intent in March as well. But first things first, we need to get that ENF out the door and get the comments going on that. So so I'll follow up with Deb and Clay on that. Because we're expecting to get a plan and a draft ENF by next week. So
great.
All right.
And when would you imagine that you would start that project?
Oh, actually, great question. I really meant to go into that. So the ENF is going to take a long time. We expect close to a year. And then by the time we get the bidding out, was probably be February of next year, maybe, to get the bid out, and then any sediment removal will stick to the summertime.
Is that the best time of year to do this? Is summertime or winter time?
I think we're contemplating best time for conservation purposes, but if you have any other thoughts on the timing, we would certainly look at that more closely.
Okay.
So our expectations, put it out to bid in the fall, in the a year from the spring, and then have the work conducted in the summer. Now, the BMPs, we might want to move ahead of that a lot sooner.
For Walker Pond, are you talking about?
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the reservoir.
Right, well, there's more BMPs in the oh, okay, yeah, there are.
Yeah. So there are inputs that we want to take a look at. And right now it's, behind the old salt shed at the DPW building. There's a swale that's supposed to be constructed. We'll explore stuff with the Needham Golf Course and up in Harris Avenue as well. A lot of the inputs, and then, see what we can come up with a, good plan to mitigate any more, make sure the sediment is not being discharged, and mitigate any phosphorus inputs as well. So I think third on the item list was Maple Street drainage.
I guess, hold on 1 second, Tom. Any commission members have any questions or comments that you want to jump in on? And Clay, I assume if there's somebody in the audience raising their hand, you're just going to give us a yell?
Thank you for asking. Nobody has. I will try to
Yeah,
do something before we move on to next items.
let them know if, so if anybody has any questions, try to raise your hand or do whatever to make Clay aware, and he will interrupt us. Okay, sorry, Tom, keep going.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just going through a checklist here. Just make sure I cover everything. The Maple Street, the Brook Wall maintenance was completed. Mike Gretzky is going to take some photos and send it off to the Conservation Department, for them to send out to you guys as well. And
That was fast.
yeah. They finished the Sportsman Pond repairs as well, and Elderbrook. It escaped me right now. 110 Elder Drive, excuse me. That was the other one. So, and the DPW is continuing with actually a complete master plan of the identifiable areas for brook wall repairs throughout town. So there is a whole master plan coming together on where, walls are falling down, where we are going to be looking to put some more projects together to repair some of these walls. So
if there's any chance of, making them more natural, we would be supportive of that. So I'm not sure if you ever have that opportunity, but I want you to know that we would support it. If there was a chance to, you had a little bit more right away to work with and not have the straight walls.
yeah, I think we're trying to keep them at an angle a little bit, and lock them in with as natural as possible, and so they don't fall down actually too.
Yeah, natural is better.
Yeah, what we can explore that, and maybe it's not a one size fits all. Perhaps areas
Right. Exactly. There might be opportunities along the way, so just don't, keep your eyes open for chances. I know that when it's people's properties, they, maybe are not going to be interested in you widening, but might be other places like near Rosemary. I'm not exactly sure where all the walls are, but there might be places that are town property that you can, that there's allowed, it's available. So just keep it in mind.
Okay. So any questions on that? master plan is still on the way. And I expect it's probably, we're going to continue working on it because we're inspecting a lot of brooks and it's going to take a while to put together the whole report. So probably like another year, so.
And as far as the town's MS4 program, are you finding places where you can improve water quality that
Yes.
are going into those brooks?
For example, yeah, so Ryan, the highway superintendent, you know, we work closely together when he's making some improvements to curbing of roads. We're looking at reducing the width and then adding some infiltration, very similar to what we did at Walker Pond. Kind of using that as a, you know, a beta.
Sample, kind of.
Sample, yeah. So we did this over Harris Ave when they reconstructed the new island. We utilized the island for infiltration, so we have.
Great.
Yeah.
That's
So-
great. I didn't know you did that. That's great. I'm really glad.
And then on Central Ave, we reduced the width in certain locations, and we're trying to add some more green space over there. There were 15-foot wide lanes you know, so we figure we can reduce it. We could actually widen a little bit of the sidewalk that, I'm not sure you're familiar with this, but there's a retaining wall and a fenced sidewalk in that location.
So
Yeah.
where are you on Central? Are you like Great
It's a-
Plain to
Yeah, it's after Sunita Williams School, heading
find
north.
that one?
It's on the
Near
west
Webster?
side. It's before St. Mary's. It's before
Okay,
Gould
I know.
Street.
Yep.
And it was very tough to plow that area. It had to be done by hand shovel. So I think Highway appreciates that as well, that we reduced the width of the road and was able to expand the sidewalk and add some green space.
Excellent.
Okay, so the next is 128 sewer interceptor. So this is the MWA sewer, and is about 2.5 miles. Right, it runs along 128 I-95 Greendale from Cheney Street near Kendrick, and it goes all the way to Great Plain Avenue to the siphon right off the highway. There's like a 2.5 mile stretch.
You're going along Greendale?
Yes,
Oh,
so
closer to the highway though?
yeah, yes, closer to the highway. In fact,
Behind the Greendale Muse or whatever that place is called?
yep, behind the Muse. In fact, a little bit of it does go into the breakdown lane of the highway. So one of the plans is to move that section off the highway. So there, the part we're looking at, well, we're looking for the design. We're preparing a design for upgrading the sewer so that so any II we can doesn't cause any sewer charging. The area.
You have to dig out, are you planning on digging out the whole sewer pipe or are you gonna like line it?
There's going to be lining and there's going to be increase in size in some locations. You know, we have the MassDOT to contend with regarding where the sewer line is, and also the MBTA. There's a crossing over there. But the point that I want to address is Valley Road. There is going to be some wetland flagging and survey work going on. The wetlands are mostly on town property. And we've given the residents notice, and I believe the notices went out last week. I can confirm that we're going to have surveyors out there flagging the wetlands and recording the locations, just so they're not, nervous that Eversource is coming back. It's not happening. So yeah, so there are some thoughts on the design. They might reshape the sewer line locations on Valley Road to to make it more accessible and practical.
And not go through the wetlands while you're doing it.
Not go through the wetlands, right? Right. So anyways, that will probably be a future notification, whether it's requested determination, notice intent, I'm not sure yet. It's still in the beginning phases of the design, but I just wanted to let you guys know that there is flagging going on. So if you ever get questioned by somebody that it's part of the our sewer line rehabilitation project that's upcoming.
Great.
All right. So I think the last one I have, which is not on the list, is we are shortly putting out to bid a 16-inch water main on Rosemary Street.
60 or 16?
16, sorry.
Okay.
16. And that's on Rosemary Street, right through the dam. So currently the water line goes under Rosemary. So we're going to relocate that through the dam. And DCR has already been informed. We've got permits from them already to begin. That will be coming up shortly. So I expect that we'll probably be giving you a notification in the near future.
Great.
That's about it for now, unless you have any
All right.
more questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Excellent.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? You'll come back to us one by one with these. We appreciate the heads up on all of them, but
Yep.
we'll wait for your submissions.
Yep, this is more informal. I just wanted to let you know so you don't get, so you know what's coming.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That really helps us out. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Nice seeing you, Justin.
Thank you.
Good night.
Right.
Okay, last thing on our agenda is the community preservation plan, open space goals and conservation commission discussion. So there is maybe Clay, can you bring up the goals? Isn't that the one that's like one page or something?
Yep, just a moment.
So I don't know if anybody's read through this. I've looked at it a few different times and I couldn't come up with any more goals than what we already are showing, but if anybody else has any, happy to hear them. So this is basically, everybody knows the Community Preservation Commission and it's open space, recreation, and they asked for the Conservation Commission's input and our goals on that and this open space plan. So, oh, is there something up and I'm not seeing it? Sorry. I have to move you guys all over. So this is our open space resource they need. They just want to make sure if we have any comments or changes to this. Does anybody, I can't read it and see you guys at the same time. I'm quite figuring out how to make that happen. Side by side. Oh, maybe that happened. Okay. Has anybody read it? And well, I'm gonna go with you've all read it. And does anybody have any comments or edits? And as far as those values of open space, and there was in the very first paragraph, Clay, the 88,100 acres of land, is that Needham consists of, is that all, are these all true? 2,500 acres of designated open space?
I'm still trying to track down a definitive answer to see if there's updates on this. The way it's worded, though, is in approximates and more than. So I think at this point, I'm less concerned with getting an exact number and making sure that there hasn't been any substantial changes since last time this was drafted and confirmed, but I'm still working on confirming that.
Okay, because we might get to subtract something by 550 acres or something. Okay, so open space goals, conserve, preserve, enhance, obtain open space through a variety of methods. Anybody have any other thoughts on what we could say there?
I don't see any changes.
You don't see any changes?
No, I don't.
Anybody else? And then open space factors for consideration, evaluating these four. A little further down, preserves the natural and man-made features. Acquires or controls additional open space, links and connects preserved open space, protects and maintains the remaining farmland. Preserves large tracts of undeveloped land, protects the quality and quantity of Needham's water supply. Protects wildlife habitat and wildlife corridors. Anybody have, is there at the end of it? Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody have any other thoughts for factors to consider for our Community Preservation Commission? So we're satisfied, we can send this back to them and say we have no changes. Was that our homework assignment, Clay?
Yep. I think that that's totally valid to leave it as is. It's just a matter of refreshing and making sure that as CPC finalizes their newest revisions, this is still what conservation's goals are with that. So
Great. And there is and then there's an open space plan that's being looked at.
So I have reached out to Karis and Stacy to try to get an update. I haven't heard back from them yet. But I'll give you an update hopefully next meeting about
Great.
where we're at.
Thank you. And is there anybody in the audience that has anything that they wanted to bring up or no?
I have not seen any hands tonight.
Okay. So I think the only thing that I
say is the Exhibit A we still have pending.
is so that is 167 New Hoyton Street, Exhibit A for the swimming pool. Who can participate in that?
I believe for this one, everybody except
Paulina?
since she's brand new, I believe everybody else has either been in attendance or has filled out or confirmed a Mullen.
Okay.
That they reviewed the meeting.
And I just wanted to bring up when you guys do come to sign, I'm going to have that the fund transfer for the Wetland Protection Act funds for the minute taker that I'm going to need you guys to sign. So that's going to be in the signature packet.
So we'll have two things to sign?
Well, we'll have the extension.
Oh, three things to sign?
Yep, 3 things to sign.
Okay. And when do you hope that we're going to sign these things by?
I'm in tomorrow, so I'll try to have signatures out tomorrow, and hopefully you guys can sign them between tomorrow and the beginning of next week.
Okay, as soon as you have them ready, let us know, because I could come in tomorrow, but next week's going to be trickier.
Okay, I shouldn't have a problem having the signature sheets out tomorrow. So, but I'll send out an email in the morning.
Okay. All right. So as far as this,
Paulina, we should probably tell Paulina about how we sign.
at the moment, because we're virtual, for a couple of years, people were coming to my garage until I had my garage rebuilt. And now we go to and now I have a new garage. My car is parked in it.
Nice.
I can push a button and the garage door opens and closes. It's very exciting. So now we have to go to the conservation office and you have to do it during business hours. So coming up with sometimes you guys are there some nights late. Yes, no, never.
No. During the summer, during summer hours. But now we're pretty, but if it's an issue, just let us know and we'll figure it out.
We work with them to try to figure out how to get them all signed so they can issue them. And probably, I would almost think that by the end of March, we're coming back in.
Yay.
Do you think we're coming? I don't think we might be. I think we might be.
Yeah, there's potential there. I don't know.
And I kind of like being at home when it's late at night, but on the other hand, we probably would work faster if we were all in the same spot. Okay, so Peter, did you read it?
Yes. Yeah,
Do you have any
so,
comments?
no, I mean, there are a couple of special conditions, but I think we've gone over them. And I think that there's also a waiver we need to deal with, but
Right.
I think that the only real special condition that's different is we didn't require a stamp plan for this one, so it just is
Yeah,
making sure
I
there's an
understand.
as-built.
I had the same comment under item 24.
Yeah, and we had as a committee had said that was okay.
So now are we requiring it?
No, now
Or
we're just,
taking it out?
it's just reinforcing the need for the as-built.
So, yeah, so the draft here, the highlighted things, this did not really have a lot of special conditions outside of our stock conditions because it was an abbreviated notice of intent. If you recall with the abbreviated, they weren't required to have engineered stamp plans. It's a net benefit. There's no, they're pretty much taking impervious, making it entirely, vegetated.
Yep.
I highlighted these first two just to show that the special condition that the commission requested was that staff go out and check the erosion controls. That is still part of our stock conditions. They're highlighted, but these two are unchanged from our stock conditions. We still will have the construction site visit. This is another stock condition, and the reason why it's highlighted is because I didn't imagine you wanted to have an as-built plan and an engineer's letter for something that didn't require an engineer or a surveyed plan. In this,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want just to have the WPA 88 form and have us go out to inspect it and bring it to you, or if you wanted photos or some other documentation.
Well, I think with a certificate of compliance report, can we ask them to provide photos of the finished product? I think that would be fine. I mean, it's very clearly an open area. It's easy to see it. And, if all of a sudden they built some crazy mound of something, we're all gonna know it. So I think if they have photos with and you guys also, you'll go out and check it, but don't you do that automatically?
Yes, we do.
We don't have to have that in there. Because
No.
you're gonna just do it. They're gonna request it and you're gonna do it.
Correct.
Yeah, so adding photos, does that work for everybody else?
Yes.
Any other discussion or comments on this exhibit? Sue, you good?
I'm good. I'm here.
Yeah, I know you've been right there. Allison, any other thing to add?
No, I'm fine.
Dave?
Nope.
Peter?
Nope.
Paulina, this is your first, you're not voting on it, but you have any questions or comments at this stage?
I don't.
Thanks. All right, so if we're ready, I'll take a motion to issue the, Clay?
We'll just need a waiver since the pool, the existing pool is within 13 feet.
Okay, so within the 25 foot, did they submitted a request?
Yeah.
So first, we need a motion to waive the work within the 25-foot no disturb zone.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Dave?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Janet? Aye. Now we go to the motion. Do we have to say anything about the fee?
Yeah.
Are we, so any discussion about if we waive the fee or not? What do you think, Peter? I see you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was like no discussion. Sounds good.
Waive the
Once
fee?
again, net benefit, waive the fee. There's no point.
Okay, so can I have a motion to waive the fee for working within the 25-foot no disturb zone?
I move we waive the fee.
A second.
All in favor, Peter?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Okay, now a motion to issue the order, is it an order of conditions still? Still call that? For 167 New Hoyden Street, DP file number 234894 as discussed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Sue,
Aye.
Allison,
Hi.
Dave,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Janet, aye. Did we do it all?
Did you guys already vote on the extension?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I just want to bring one thing up just for myself for clarification as far as the 160 Edgewater goes. So we're looking for more documentation. You know, just because we don't let people cut down forests generally.
Right.
And we don't let people cut down forests to expand lawn. So they're cutting down a forest and they're putting lawn there. So going forward, if people come in, they say they have dangerous pine trees and they want to take them down and expand their lawn into that area, we're okay with that.
There was a,
Expanding the lawn.
I think it's lawn anyways.
No,
underneath.
it's not. There's
I
no
just saw
lawn.
the lawn.
Underneath the pine trees?
Yeah, it's all lawn.
I was there.
The pine needle line.
Well,
Yeah.
there's grass. There's grass. I mean, I don't know. I
Does it
mean,
require a site visit?
No, I was just, because we're being careful. And I
Yeah.
just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that that was okay. Not
Right.
them not having to put any plantings back where they're
Could-
removing because they want lawn there. I just
Can I
want to
just-
make
can I
sure
just
that
make-
that's our opinion.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Yeah.
yes,
I think we should revise the guidance for tree removal. Because for two things. One, it does say like 1.5 inch replacement, and I think everybody's talking about something bigger, 2 inches.
Mhm.
So we should at least change that. And it also says that the new trees, the compensatory trees should be placed as near as possible to the trees that are taken down. So I think we should reinforce that concept. Because
Mhm.
oh, that says that in there.
Yeah,
As near, I thought it said it needed to be within the buffer zone, the same.
I'm pretty sure it says, you know, it should be in the same areas where the trees are taken down.
Well, what's the same area constitute? What does that actually mean? Within a
I-
10-foot radius? Like, what are we talking?
Well, I mean, if you're taking down a hazardous tree and you're gonna replace it with two, you know, smaller, healthier trees, I mean, I would think you'd do it in the same location and that's sort of what I got out of reading the guidance. But anyway, I would, without going through all the issues on the guidance, I think it'd be worthwhile to review it and revise it.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. I just, you know, as the people mentioned, they called me about a violation to the property that he owned next door that has all the trees taken down and lawn all the way to the river. So, you know, it's just kind of, I feel as though they got away
Yeah,
with something next
the
door.
lawn all the way to the
allowing
river.
Same
I
thing.
mean, I thought we were trying to, whenever we could, bring back the 25-foot no disturb zone, whenever we have that opportunity. So this was a time when we had that opportunity, and it wasn't lawn all the way to the river because there's a wetland there.
Where are you talking about?
At Edgewater, there's a big wetland, so it's between the river and the lawn, there's a wetland.
Yeah. But there's
Well,
there's also the easement areas, which I think are in this particular case.
Yeah, the
I-
easements make it
That's the
complicated.
complication.
I know, yeah.
Okay. If you're
Is
fine
there-
with it, that's fine.
Can I,
Like to
At the-
go for a site visit or anything? I mean,
Hmm?
do you think it would require a site visit, Debbie?
No, I just feel as though this applicant, that they were telling you what they were willing to do. We
I
want them to be able to have a lawn, you know, it's a good for you, but we want what we want. And that's not how it's supposed to work.
Is there lawn within the 25 foot? I can't remember.
I think, yeah, I didn't,
Potentially.
Peter, you had something to add?
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of, well, I mean, we're not deliberating anymore, but one other consideration that frankly I forgot in this situation, but might be applicable if anyone ever comes back before us and say, we're afraid of a tree. The only reason we're taking this tree down, we don't want a lawn. We just want to take the tree down because it's dangerous, right? Is that we still have the ability to request snags. That trees be cut down to, 6 feet, then
If
they're
that's
not gonna.
truly the reason they're taking the trees down is because they're
Exactly,
hazards.
so they're not gonna
Instead
fall
of
on a
grinding the
house.
stumps down and putting lawn there.
Yeah, that's
I
also.
agree. I
that's also
forgot
in the
about the
guide-
snag.
Yeah, so I mean, and I regret not conjuring that up during this particular hearing, but I think that I mean, that's another
Mm.
thing in our arsenal, I think, in the future.
Yeah, I think you're right. This one, I feel like last time when they were in front of us, it was very confusing. There was a lot of stuff that didn't make sense. And so became a kind of kind of a complicated thing because it was what is happening here.
I know. I think it's excellent to definitely do the documentation for the documentation. I think that's critical in this situation. But I think Allison originally mentioned.
And you're right. I think, Dave, we need to go back to our tree bylaw. I know at one point our tree policy, I guess it is. I know Allison had looked at it at one point and I thought she had updated it and I think she believed she updated it. And so we're like,
Well, the one I got was
found one. And so you found it, I guess, I assume online on our website.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why you found it so quickly.
Well, Clay and I are part of the Climate Action Committee under the Natural Resources section with Artie Crocker. And part of our discussions have been, what the Conservation Commission can kind of do to help. And so we were talking about updating the guidance, looking at trees as far as climate change. We might want to change up the trees that we suggest that people plant. And also to see if we wanted to go more like a Wellesley type of thing, where they do it by the inch. Cut down 12
I
inch
know. I've been wondering
senior
about
plant.
that.
Whether we want to do that instead of just sticking to, just the generic 2-inch sapling.
This tree document that we're referring to it's labeled guidance. It's not
Right. So that's also part of the discussion is making it. I think when the town was working on the tree bylaw, we were going to kind of try to piggyback on that. As far as our guidance went, making it more of a bylaw. But if the tree bylaw isn't happening, we might want to look at our bylaw.
Well,
sorry,
all
I
right,
do
so
have a
ours is a, sorry, Paulina.
Are we sure this is a forest? Because it doesn't, if you look at their maps, I was just looking at it, they do have edge of lawn and it extends almost all the way to the river. It's like a little peninsula. So I don't know if we
Yeah,
can.
it doesn't necessarily mean the lawn's supposed to be there. I think trees were cut previously in that area. So I've been on the property and, that area of trees would continue along either side. So I think it would be considered a forest.
Okay. Well, I think having because it is, I want to make sure people are coming to us and having the discussion. I also worry about the fertilizer on the lawns. And so I want to make sure that that's something that is always brought up. We cannot deny people to build houses. We can't really deny people lawns either. So I'm struggling with that because I'd rather have a lawn than a house.
They tried to stay constant with no lawn within the 25-foot. Remember? We tried to
What did-
stay, we had different instances where we were very strict for a while there.
Yeah.
There's no lawn to be developed within the 25-foot.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah, we were really holding back, pulling back the 25-foot and trying to reestablish that 25-foot no disturb zone between the BVW and we were strong for a while, and then you had a few projects that there was like no hope. And so,
Well,
yeah,
we were in person then too. I think it's harder on Zoom.
well, it is harder on Zoom.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's seem to see the maps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't even figure out what they're talking about.
No.
But I do think whenever we have the opportunity to hold that 25-foot no disturb zone, that I find, and like having a mass of trees and the canopy and the habitat, that I find to be really important compared to having a bunch of trees just kind of spaced all around the lawn. Like that doesn't really do it for me either. I mean, maybe having an orchard type of a thing is better than having a lawn, but I don't know.
Did he
I
do this? Or
What? Sorry?
Before he moved to this, did the owner do the same thing in his
I
previous
think
house?
next door he cut down all the trees. And but did we hit an enforcement order or something when he did that? What happened to that? In that
No,
instance?
because I found out from the neighbors after the fact. They watched him cut down the trees over there, didn't say anything at the time. And then he told them that he was planning to cut down all the trees on this parcel and putting lawn in. So that's when they called me and said, we're afraid he's gonna do the same thing and cut down all the trees over here.
Oh.
So that's
So we
when
never knew about it the first time?
No, I said, why didn't you contact us when it was happening? You know, kind of thing. So they were trying to stop that from happening again.
Oh.
And I have heard that he owns another parcel that he may be doing work on Edgewater.
Huh.
So I don't know. And just one other thing, 311 Dedham. If you remember, they were doubling the size of the house essentially.
Oh, yeah.
That was Karen Catrone and Artie, and we weren't happy with their filing as far as riverfront area. So DEP came very close to superseding us on that. I heard. Because they're not allowed to, they call it split the baby, I guess. So on one lot, you can't say that part of it is degraded, like where the house is, and say another part isn't. You have to kind of go one or the other, I guess.
Really?
Yep. So as far as that goes, whatever their addition size was, the mitigation area is supposed to be twice that. So when they said that they're putting trees in or low bush blueberry in that area where there was already trees, that shouldn't have gone through. Because they're taking credit for an area that's already forested. So they should have given back lawn at like a 2-to-1 ratio for it to work.
So why didn't DP supersede us on it? And how did it even get, I mean, doesn't somebody have to appeal it to go to do that, or did DP
No,
just?
DEP can supersede.
Just superseded themselves?
Yep. So anyways, we have to watch out more, I guess, in the riverfront area about what we're allowing. And
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like as soon as, if we can get those rules down, it's kind of
So
complicated.
what's the
well, I
mechanism?
guess it was a change because I always thought that you could do it, you know, both ways, because part of it's degraded, part of it isn't. But they had some lawsuit or something that they changed that
Oh,
guidance.
so it's changed. It's not
Yeah.
that we've been screwing it up all these years.
No.
Okay. Well, that's better. Okay.
I also have a question about planting on easements. I know you shouldn't be planting trees on easements, but can you plant anything else on easements, or you have to leave them?
Well, you can, except that the idea is that the utility that owns the easement can just dig it all up. So I really struggle with encouraging people to plant on easements, knowing, and there's a likelihood, right, that that utility won't come along, but they could. And then, you know, they're like, oh, then they come and they say, the Conservation Commission made us plant trees or shrubs in this easement, and then MWA came and ripped them all out, and Conservation Commission better pay us for those trees. You know, and it's
You know, Janet, strictly speaking, if you do something in an easement, you have to get permission from whoever owns the easement. And so,
and they never give you permission.
yeah, exactly. That's a headache.
Yeah.
But
So
I also think you need to get permission if you're taking down trees in an easement too. But, you know, that varies by easement.
you think you have to get permission for taking them down?
That's a good point.
It depends on what it says in the easement.
I don't have any idea, but I just knew that they couldn't plant there, but I thought they could take them down.
So, you know, getting back to my previous comment about revising the guidance for tree removal. Is there interest in doing that? And
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there's
what's
definitely.
the mechanism? Should we, you know, each mark up the current guidance and, you know, send it in for what somebody can comments or,
Whereas
I don't know
Clay,
what-
I think, has tried to get us to do this multiple times. Is that?
I mean, I'm willing to take a initial crack.
Well, yes, definitely. And, you know, if we ever had a short meeting, it would be nice to talk about it all together. But it may be, maybe Deborah and Clay, if you wanted to send around what you know as our tree guidance policy to everybody so that we can start taking a look at it. And then one of the meetings that isn't so long, we'll try to have a discussion.
Okay,
That would be great.
we can do that.
So that we're all on the same page. Okay, anything else?
No,
Are we tired now? It's 9:43.
yes, I'm sorry I brought that up.
Okay, yeah, great, thanks. All right, I'll take
Yeah.
a motion to adjourn. And Paulina, they're not usually always like this.
No,
This was a particularly crazy one. So, okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. We can just aye it all out.
hi, thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks to everybody. Appreciate your help. Have a
Happy
good night.
Holidays.
Bye.
Yeah, happy
holidays.
holidays.
Bye.
Bye.